Szevasztok, vodnézők! Egy nagyon érdekes és furcsa játékba fogunk ma belekezdeni, ami valamikor 2013-ban jelent meg az első verziója, az első kiadása, majd 2020-ban és 2022-ben is felújították, csak mondom, ezt a gémet, úgyhogy ez a The Stanley Parable Ultra Deluxe Edition, amiben egyébként az alapjátékon felül vannak bővített jelenetek, easter eggek, és természetesen egy felújított grafika, ami mindenképpen egy érdekes dolog lesz, nagyon kíváncsi vagyok rá. Na most önmagában egy kínszenvedés volt az, hogy a magyar nyelv működjön ebben a játékban, de nagy nehezen sikerült megoldjam, úgyhogy csak reménykedem benne, hogy továbbra is még működik, és nem cseszett itt át engem közben a rendszer, de nem hiszem. Úgyhogy magyarul fogjuk játszani ezt a játékot, magyar felirattal, és azért magyar felirattal, mert a magyar szinkron az csak az előző verzióhoz, tehát a sima The Stanley Parable-höz jó, ez pedig ugye már a bővített kiadás, ehhez nem jó a szinkron, úgyhogy magyar felirat lesz ma. De megmondom őszintén, nekem ez itt tök jó. Tudom, hogy van hozzá amúgy szinkron, meg hogy vicces, biztosan jól sikerült, tehát ez nem kérdés, de ma nem ezt a verziót fogjuk megnézni, hanem hogyha sikerül megtalálni a játékot, csak úgy kell elindítani, hogy ezt inkább ne is tudjátok meg. Én most tudtam meg, nem tudom, ti tudtátok-e, de én most tudtam meg, hogy a Steamen le tudod tölteni a játékoknak az előző verzióit, mindenféle gond nélkül, úgyhogy most ez jelenleg a kiadás verziója, úgyhogy ha van benne valami game breaking bug, akkor beszívtuk, csak sajnos csak ezzel működik a magyar felirat. Úgyhogy nézzük, figyeljetek, indítom a gémet. A játék műfaja meghatározhatatlan, ha valaki kíváncsi rá, tehát nem tudom mi ez, de őszintén. Tehát tök meghatározhatatlan. Annyit elárulok azért, hogy egy Source Engine-es játékról van szó, tehát azt hiszem a Half-Life 2-re épült, vagy egy Half-Life 2 mod volt az alapjáték, aztán külön kiadták. Tehát ez egy walking szimulátor, de kicsit ugye sokszor felmerült ez a játék, mikor mostanában játszottam ezekkel a liminal gémekkel, amikor ilyen üres terek voltak, meg irodákban kellett mászkálni, a backroomos játékok nál is előfordult, és sokszor említettétek itt a chaten is, hogy ez olyan, mint a Stanley Parable. Na, hát akkor nézzük meg, hogy pontosan honnan inspirálódtak ezek a játékok, és ez valami tényleg kimaradt nekünk, nem játszottunk ezzel a játékkal egyáltalán soha. Így kezdődik a game, hogy így meg kell adni az időt. Úgyhogy... Na várjatok. Oké, 2 óra, 10 perc. Annyi van most itt. Boom. Várj. Na, mi történt? Mondhatom még valamit, mielőtt belekezdünk? Igen. Köszönöm, hogy tényleg beállítottad az órát mindkétszer, amikor elindítottad a játékot. Igen, mert már egyszer elindítottam, basszus, hogy megnézem, hogy tényleg működik-e a magyar felirat. Sokan nem veszik komolyan ezt a lépést, csak úgy hagyják az órát, és ezzel le van tudva. De ennek semmi értelme nem volt. De te tényleg időt fordítasz az óra beállítására, és ezt méltányolom. Ebből tudom, hogy érdekel ez az élmény. Odafigyelsz rá. Aha. Még csak az sincs módonban megtudni, hogy az idő, amit beállítasz, pontos-e. Tudod mit? Kössünk egy alkut. Mivel ilyen együttműködő voltál, amikor legközelebb elindítod a kedvenc játékot, és látod ezt a képernyőt, csak állítsd az órát a kedvenc időpontodra. Nyugodtan válasz, amilyen időpontot csak akarsz, még ha nem is az, ami a pontos idő. Na jó. Jól van, most már hagyom, hogy visszatérj a videójátékhoz. Hát szuper. Na! Hát akkor... Hé, ott a monitorban. A monitoron belüli monitorban is az van, ami... Aha, ez egy mindfuck. De pillanat, megnézem már itt a beállításokat, mert azt nem néztem meg a képbeállításokat, de... Aha, igen, gondoltam, hogy ez van. Hát, hogy be kell lőjük Pillanat. Úristen. Ne kérdezzétek, mi történik. Úgy kattintok, mint még soha. Próbálom a felbontást beállítani. Jó. Megtaláltam. Megtaláltam, jó. Keret nélküli, élsimítás maxon. Minőség, magas minőség. Jó. És kezdjük a játékot. Hát remélem működni fog. A felbontást próbáltam beállítani, nem lehetett kiválasztani, nem lista volt. Na nézzük.
This is the story of a man named Stanley.
Aha.
Stanley worked for a company in a big building where he was employee number 427. Employee number 427's job was simple. He sat at his desk in room 427 and he pushed buttons on a keyboard. Orders came to him through a monitor on his desk, telling him what buttons to push, how long to push them, and in what order. This is what employee 427 did every day of every month of every year. And although others might have considered it soul-rending, Stanley relished every moment that the orders came in, as though he had been made exactly for this job. And Stanley was happy.
Azt a kurva.
And then one day, something very peculiar happened. Something that would forever change Stanley. Something he would never quite forget. He had been at his desk for nearly an hour when he realized that not one single order had arrived on the monitor for him to follow. No one had showed up to give him instructions, call a meeting, or even say hi. Never in all his years at the company had this happened, this complete isolation. Something was very clearly wrong. Shocked, frozen solid, Stanley found himself unable to move for the longest time. But as he came to his wits and regained his senses, he got up from his desk and stepped out of his office.
Azt a kurva. Jól van, tehát akkor ez egy ilyen elég repetitív munkának tűnik. Ja igen, azt még elfelejtettem mondani, hogy én sem játszottam ezzel a játékkal még soha. Tehát, hogy ez nekem tök új lesz. És azt sem tudom, hogy mi lesz. A sensitivity viszont csodálva határos módon megint kurva érzékeny, úgyhogy pillanat. Ja, hát fovot vegyük feljebb. Jó. Oké, tehát kiléptünk az irodába, és akkor a narrátor végig nyomja a szöveget? Mi voltunk a 427-es szobában. Jó.
All of his co-workers were gone.
Eltűntek az emberek.
What could it mean? Stanley decided to go to the meeting room. Perhaps he had simply missed a memo.
Hát elfejtettünk valamit?
No matter how hard Stanley looked, he couldn't find a trace of his co-workers.
Olyan, mintha a narrátor azt mondaná, amit épp csinálok.
Stanley went around touching every little thing in the office, but it didn't make a single difference, nor did it advance the story in any way.
Hát ez kurva jó. Amúgy. Aha. És hol van az a boardroom, vagy micsoda? Amit keresünk.
When Stanley came to a set of two open doors, he entered the door on his left.
A bal oldali ment be. Kap be.
This was not the correct way to the meeting room, and Stanley knew it perfectly well. Perhaps he wanted to stop by the employee lounge first, just to admire it.
Hol van itt a lounge? Ja, itt. Aha, tényleg van. Minden zárva van. De mi van ott a táblán? 4B9. Egy kiborított kávé. Ez gyanús. Aha.
Yes, truly a room worth
ez
admiring.
volt a pihenő.
It had really been worth the detour after all, just to spend a few moments here in this immaculate, beautifully constructed room. Stanley simply stood here, drinking it all in.
Elképesztő, hogy itt vagyunk egy ilyen szobában. Nagyon jó.
But eager to get back to business, Stanley took the first open door on his left.
Azt mondod? Biztos, hogy itt mentünk be? Do not lie. If you are lying right now, stop.
Stanley was so bad at following directions, it's incredible he wasn't fired years ago.
Hogy vagyunk? Hol vagyunk? Nem követtük az utasításokat. Aha. Do not jump from the cargo lift.
Look, Stanley, I think perhaps we've gotten off on the wrong foot here.
No.
I'm not your enemy, really, I'm not. I realize that investing your trust in someone else can be difficult, but the fact is that the story has been about nothing but you all this time.
Hát igen.
There's someone you've been neglecting, Stanley. Someone you've forgotten about. Please, stop trying to make every decision by yourself. Now, I'm not asking for me, I'm asking for her.
Her?
This is it, Stanley. Your chance to redeem yourself. To put your work aside. To let her back into your life.
Kiről beszél?
She's been waiting.
Employees should never under any circumstances attempt... Le van tépve. De kihez kell visszatérni vajon? Mi ez a fekete?
That's her, Stanley.
Ő
You
az.
need to be the one to do this. To reach out to her. If you can truly place your faith in another, then pick up the phone.
Ki a fene hív?
Oh, Stanley, is that you? Hold on, sweetie. Sorry to keep you waiting. I'm just pulling the bread out of the oven. All right.
Ez a barátnő?
Okay, there we go. All right, now, I want you to come in and tell me all about your day.
Gotcha! Oh, come on. Did you actually think you had a loving wife who'd want to commit their life to you? I'm trying to make a point here, Stanley. I'm trying to get you to see something. Come inside. Let me show you what's really going on here.
Mi a fasz van itt? Ez milyen hülyeség már?
This is a very sad story about the death of a man named Stanley.
Mi? De várj, most mi lettünk? Na most ez... De most, tehát, hogy...
Stanley is quite a boring fellow. He has a job that demands nothing of him, and every button that he pushes is a reminder of the inconsequential nature of his existence.
Most direkt másik gombot nyomok. Nem működik.
Look at him there, pushing buttons, doing exactly what he's told to do. Now he's pushing a button. Now he's eating lunch. Now he's going home. Now he's coming back to work. One might even feel sorry for him, except that he's chosen this life.
De hogy azért mondta, hogy meghaltunk, mert elkezdtünk dolgozni ennél a cégnél?
But in his mind, he can go on fantastic adventures. From behind his desk, Stanley dreamed of wild expeditions into the unknown, fantastic discoveries of new lands. It was wonderful. And each day that he returned to work was a reminder that none of it would ever happen to him. And so he began to fantasize about his own job. First, he imagined that one day while at work, he stepped up from his desk to realize that all of his co-workers, his boss, everyone in the building had suddenly vanished off the face of the earth. The thought excited him terribly.
De most ez történt tényleg? Ez mi?
So he went further. He imagined that he came to two open doors and that he could go through either. At last, choice. It barely even mattered what lay behind each door. The mere thought that his decisions would mean something was almost too wonderful to behold. As he wandered through this fantasy world, he began to fill it with many possible paths and
Nem is az
destinations.
történik.
Down one path lay an enormous round room with monitors and mind controls. And down another was a yellow line that weaved in many directions. And down another was a game with a baby. And he called it the Stanley Parable.
Hogy 3 út van a játékban akkor? De meséljen a gyerekeinek, de nem is ez történik.
It was such a wonderful fantasy, and so in his head he relived it again, and then again, and again, over and over, wishing beyond hope that it would never end, that he might always feel this free. Surely there's an answer down some new path, mustn't there be? Perhaps if he played just one more time. But there is no answer. How could there possibly be? In reality, all he's doing is pushing the same buttons he always has. Nothing has changed. The longer he spends here, the more invested he gets, the more he forgets which life is the real one.
Ez komoly. Amúgy ez komoly. Feküdj le aludni.
And I'm trying to tell him this, that in this world he can never be anything but an observer, that as long as he remains here, he's slowly killing himself. But he won't listen to me. He won't stop.
19 ending van a játékban.
Stanley, the next time the screen asks you to push a button, do not do it. You see? Can he just not hear me?
Most direkt
How can I
megnyomtam.
tell him in a way that he'll understand that every second he remains here, he's electing to kill himself? How can I get him to see what I see? How can I make him look at himself?
Most nem nyomom meg. Most nem fogok semmit sem megnyomni. Az órát beállította volna a játék. ...42 vége van a játéknak. Ebben a verzióban 42 ending van.
I suppose I can't, not in the way I want him to. But I don't make the rules. I simply play to my intended purpose, the same as Stanley.
Ennyi.
We're not so different, I suppose. I'll try once more to convey all this to him. I'm compelled to. I must. Perhaps, well, maybe this time he'll see. Maybe this time. And I tried again, and Stanley pushed a button. And I tried again, and Stanley pushed a button. And I tried...
Kérjük, halljon meg. Mi van? Köszi a támogatásokat közben, srácok. Gál Gábor, Lilian, Halász Norbert, Norbu, Eszterminátor és Potondi István, neked is nagyon köszi. Most újra
All of
kezdődött?
his co-workers were gone. What could it mean?
Most újra kezdődött a
Stanley
játék?
decided to go to the meeting room. Perhaps he had simply missed a memo.
Na jó.
When Stanley came to a set of two
Na,
open
bemegyek a bal
doors,
oldalim.
he entered the door on his left.
Ez a meeting.
Yet there was not a single person here either. Feeling a wave of disbelief, Stanley decided to go up to his boss's office, hoping he might find an answer there.
Aha. Who moved my desk? Please keep the targets on top. Not cost everything. Huh? Elképesztő. Ez mi?
Stanley stepped into the broom closet, but there was nothing here, so he turned around and got back on track.
Bejöttünk a takarítószertárba. Hát nincs itt semmi.
There was nothing here. No choice to make, no path to follow, just an empty broom closet. No reason to still be here.
Bezárom az ajtót. Van itt valami? Azt mondtátok a chaten, hogy jöjjek be ide.
Stanley was still just sitting in the broom closet. He wasn't even doing anything. At least if there was something to interact with, he'd be justified in some way. As it is, he's literally just standing there doing sweet FA. Are you really still in the broom closet? Standing around doing nothing? Why? Please offer me some explanation here. I'm genuinely confused. You do realize there's no choice or anything in here, right? If I'd said Stanley walked past the broom closet, at least you would have had a reason for exploring it to find out. But it didn't even occur to me because literally this closet is of absolutely no significance to the story whatsoever. I never would have thought to mention it. Maybe to you this is somehow its own branching path. Maybe when you go talk about this with your friend you'll say, "Oh, did you get the broom closet ending? The broom closet ending was my favorite." I hope your friends find this concerning.
De teljesen kiakadt a narrátor most.
Stanley was fat and ugly and really stupid. He probably only got the job because of a family connection. That's how stupid he is.
Hogy felbaszta magát?
Also, Stanley is addicted to drugs and hookers.
Kurvára felbaszta magát?
Well, I've come to a very definite conclusion about what's going on right now. You're dead. You got to this broom closet, explored it a bit, and were just about to leave because there's nothing here, when a physical malady of some sort shut down your central nervous system and you collapsed on the keyboard.
Pontosan így van.
Well, in a situation like this, the responsible thing is to alert someone nearby so as to ensure that your body is taken care of before it begins to decompose. Hello, anyone who happens to be nearby, the person at this computer is dead. They have fallen prey to any number of your countless human physiological vulnerabilities. It's indicative of the long-term sustainability of your species. Please remove their corpse from the area and instruct another human to take their place, making sure they understand basic first-person video game mechanics and filling them in on the history of narrative tropes in video gaming, so that the irony and insightful commentary of this game is not lost on them. All right, when you've done that, just step out into the hallway.
Na, még maradok. Én még maradok. Ennyi?
Ah, second player. It's good to have you on board. I guarantee you can't do any worse than the person who came before you. You too? Unbelievable. I'm at the mercy of an entire species of invalids. Perhaps there's a monkey nearby you can hand the controls to. A fish? Fungus? Look, you can hammer out the details. I'm not particularly picky. I'll just be waiting for when you're ready to pick up the story again.
Nem, most már nem, most már abba hagyta.
Coming to a staircase, Stanley walked upstairs to his boss's office.
Na nézzük. Itt lesz a fő... Ez a budi? Money in the morning, money in the evening, money for breakfast, money crisp. Ez a főnöknek a szövege. Tetszik? Extreme bathrooms. Micsoda? Budi? Bath guy testifies in the trial of the century. Tired of getting... Micsoda? Ash on your porcelain? Úristen, mi ez? Egy budikra szóló újság. Gyönyörű ez a kép. Jó. Megnéztük a budit. Mi az a pandás kép? Miért fognak egy fegyvert a pandának a fejéhez? Na mindegy. Ez a főnöknek a szobája?
Stepping into his manager's office, Stanley was once again stunned to discover not an indication of any human life.
Jól lesz ki az iroda.
Shocked, unraveled, Stanley wondered in disbelief who orchestrated this, what dark secret was being held from him. What he could not have known was that the keypad behind the boss's desk guarded the terrible truth that his boss had been keeping from him. And so the boss had assigned it an extra secret PIN number. 2845. But of course, Stanley couldn't. Yet incredibly, by simply pushing random buttons on the keypad, Stanley happened to input the correct code by sheer luck.
Hihetetlen.
Amazing. He stepped into the newly opened passageway.
Mi ez a titkos átjáró? Ez már a backroom, srácok. Ez itt már a backroom. Ha megint kijöttünk a játék térből.
Descending deeper into the building, Stanley realized he felt a bit peculiar. It was a stirring of emotion in his chest, as though he felt more free to think for himself, to question the nature of his job. Why did he feel this now, when for years it had never occurred to him? This question would not go unanswered for long.
Ja. Hol vagyunk?
Stanley walked straight ahead through the large door that read Mind Control Facility.
És ide van, hogy escape. Gyanús ez nekem, nagyon gyanús. Nem? De amúgy erről beszélt pont, hogy van egy ilyen Mind Control Facility. De erre van a kijárat. Rent a fence.
Although this passageway had the word escape written on it, the truth was that at the end of this hall, Stanley would meet his violent death.
Komolyan meg fog halni? Nem lehet.
The door behind him was not shut. Stanley still had every opportunity to turn around and get back on track. At this point, Stanley was making a conscious, concerted effort to walk forward and willingly confront his death.
Készen állok. Kurva életbe. És ott leugrok, és meghaltam, mi? The end is never the end.
As the machine whirred into motion and Stanley was inched closer and closer to his demise, he reflected that his life had been of no consequence whatsoever. Stanley can't see the bigger picture. He doesn't know the real story, trapped forever in his narrow vision of what this world is. Perhaps his death was of no great loss, like plucking the eyeballs from a blind man.
Ez nem jó.
And so he resigned and willingly accepted this violent end to his brief and shallow life.
Meg fog halni.
Farewell, Stanley.
Rip.
Farewell,
Bye.
Stanley, cried the narrator,
Hello.
as Stanley was led helplessly into the enormous metal jaws. In a single visceral instant, Stanley was obliterated as the machine crushed every bone in his body, killing him instantly.
De élünk? Hello! És mi ez a női narrátor? Stanley Parable.
And yet it would be just a few minutes before Stanley would restart the game, back in his office, as alive as ever.
Ez egy ilyen véget
What
nem érő
exactly did the
örökló.
narrator think he was going to accomplish?
Az micsoda, milyen nagy izét ér.
When every path you can walk has been created for you long in advance, death becomes meaningless, making life the same. Do you see now? Do you see that Stanley was already dead from the moment he hit start?
Az elejétől fogva halottak voltunk, azt mondja. Természetfestmények, hát ezek elképesztő festmények. Ez pedig az írod... Aha. Mi a fenét nézünk most itt? Irodai számítógép passziánsz volt. Employee database. Mindegyiket kikapcsolom. Itt vannak a készítők. Ez egy bónusz ending? De ez most tényleg az? A főnöknek az irodája miért néz ki háromféleképpen? Amúgy. Mert nekünk a középső volt. Mi a fasz történik itt? Mind Control Facility, itt volt a...
Pushed the big red button. Shoot. Well, try the other one then. Then he pushed the number 4. Now look closely, Stanley. See how it's impossible for the player to do anything in this room. Perfect example of poor level design. Textbook mistake.
Jó, ezek a
It's the kind of thing you pick up on intuitively if you have even the most fundamental understanding.
Nagyon durva amúgy, hogy... Most nem tudom mi van. Ez egy nagyon durva ez egy ending. Karbantartó, és ezeket nem is láttuk. De véletlen valahogy végigjátszottuk a játékot, ez ennyi volt. Ultra Deluxe bejelentések. Aha. 2018-ban jelentették be a Game Awards-on. Ezek a képernyőmentések a videókból, amelyeket a bejelentés az a játék csúszásakor készítettünk. Csúszásakor? Aha. Pihenő. Teherlift. A lakás befejezés van ilyen, aha. Úristen, konkrétan ez tényleg egy ending. Akkor ez ennyi volt a game. Zefejezés karok. Előzetesek. 4 nagy ízelítő előzetesünk futott a játékvezetése során. Aha. Ez az első előzetes, azt lehet megnézni. És itt az exit.
Oh, look at these two. How they wish to destroy one another. How they wish to control
Milyen
one
dísztó?
another. How they both wish to be free. Can you see? Can you see how much they need one another? No, perhaps not. Sometimes these things cannot be seen. But listen to me. You can still save these two. You can stop the program before they both fail.
Na!
Push escape and press quit. There's no other way to beat this game. As long as you move forward, you'll be walking someone else's path. Stop now and it'll be your only true choice. Whatever you do, choose it. Don't let time choose for you. Don't let...
Azt akarta a női narrátor, hogy lépjünk ki. De most gondolom újra fog indulni az egész játék.
All of his co-workers were gone. What could it mean? Stanley decided to go to the meeting room. Perhaps he had simply missed a memo.
Beszarás.
When Stanley came to a set of 2 open doors,
Akkor most
he
menjünk a
entered the
mind
door
control
on his
felé.
left. Yet there was not a single person here either. Feeling a wave of disbelief, Stanley decided to go up. Oh no, no, not again. I won't be part of this. I'm not going to encourage you. I'm not going to say anything at all. I'm just going to be patient and wait for you to finish whatever it is you enjoy doing so much in this room. Please take your time.
Már megint agyfasz kap.
Coming to a
És most mi van
staircase,
lefele?
Stanley walked upstairs to his boss's office.
Azt hiszed. Lefele megyünk. Ez mi ez a fehér lap? Hi, Lenny. Nem tudok zoomolni. This in first period and left in the year.
But Stanley just couldn't do it. He considered the possibility of facing his boss, admitting he had left his post during work hours. He might be fired for that. And in such a competitive economy, why had he taken that risk? All because he believed everyone had vanished? His boss would think he was crazy. And then something occurred to Stanley. Maybe, he thought to himself, maybe I am crazy. All of my co-workers blinking mysteriously out of existence in a single moment for no reason at all? None of it made any logical sense. And as Stanley pondered this, he began to make other strange observations. For example, why couldn't he see his feet when he looked down? Why did doors close automatically behind him wherever he went? And for that matter, these rooms were starting to look pretty familiar. Were they simply repeating? No, Stanley said to himself, this is all too strange. This can't be real.
De pedig kurvára
At last,
ismétlődik.
he came to the conclusion that had been on the tip of his tongue. He just hadn't found the words for it. I'm dreaming, he yelled. This is all a dream. Oh, what a relief Stanley felt to have finally found an answer, an explanation. His co-workers weren't actually gone. He wasn't going to lose his job. He wasn't crazy after all. And he thought to himself, I suppose I'll wake up soon. I'll have to go back to my boring real-life job pushing buttons. I may as well enjoy this while I'm still lucid. So, he imagined himself flying and began to gently float above the ground. Then he imagined himself soaring through space on a magical starfield, and it too appeared. It was so much fun, and Stanley marveled that he had still not woken up. How was he remaining so lucid? And then perhaps the strangest question of them all entered Stanley's head. One he was amazed he hadn't asked himself sooner. Why is there a voice in my head dictating everything that I'm doing and thinking?
Igen.
Now the voice was describing itself being considered by Stanley, who found it particularly strange. I'm dreaming about a voice describing me, thinking about how it's describing my thoughts, he thought. And while he thought it all very odd and wondered if this voice spoke to all people in their dreams, the truth was that, of course, this was not a dream. How could it be? Was Stanley simply deceiving himself, believing that if he's asleep, he doesn't have to take responsibility for himself? Stanley is as awake right now as he's ever been in his life. Now, hearing the voice speak these words was quite a shock to Stanley. After all, he knew for certain, beyond a doubt, that this was in fact a dream. Did the voice not see him float and make the magical stars just a moment ago? How else would the voice explain all that? This voice was a part of himself too. Surely, if he could just... He would prove it. He would prove that he was in control, that this was a dream. So he closed his eyes gently, and he invited himself to wake up. He felt the cool weight of the blanket on his skin, the press of the mattress on his back, the fresh air of a world outside this one. Let me wake up, he thought to himself. I'm through with this dream. I wish it to be over. Let me go back to my job. Let me continue pushing the buttons. Please, it's all I want. I want my apartment, and my wife, and my job. All I want is my life exactly the way it's always been. My life is normal. I am normal. Everything will be fine. I am okay.
Gondoltam, hogy ez lesz amúgy.
Stanley began screaming. Please, someone, wake me up. My name is Stanley. I have a boss. I have an office. I am real. Please, just someone tell me I am real. I must be real. I must be. Can anyone hear my voice? Who am I? Who am I? And everything went black.
Azt a kurva. De most akkor...
This is the story of a woman named Mariella.
Micsoda?
Mariella woke up on a day like any other.
Mariella?
She rose, got dressed, gathered her belongings, and walked to her place of work. But on this particular day, her walk was interrupted by the body of a man who had stumbled through town talking and screaming to himself, and then collapsed dead on the sidewalk. And although she would soon turn to go call for an ambulance, for just a few brief moments, she considered the strange man. He was obviously crazy. This much she knew. Everyone knows what crazy people look like. And in that moment, she thought to herself how lucky she was to be normal. I am sane. I am in control of my mind. I know what is real and what isn't. It was comforting to think this. And in a certain way, seeing this man made her feel better. But then she remembered the meeting she had scheduled for that day. The very important people whose impressions of her would affect her career, and by extension, the rest of her life. She had no time for this, so it was only a moment that she stood there, staring down at the body. And then she turned and ran.
Szóval ott hagyta a holttestet és elfutott? Mert nem volt ideje ezzel szórakozni? És kezdődik előről.
All of his co-workers were gone. What could it mean?
Ez agyilag tönkretesz ez a játék amúgy.
Perhaps he had simply missed a memo.
4 szoba amúgy itt van, csak mondom. Awaiting input. Hé, ez eddig is itt volt. Többet nem lehet. Srácok, látom, hogy a chatben még mindig kérdés, ez az Ultra Deluxe Edition-ja, a Stanley Parable-nak ez nincs szinkron. Amúgy mi van, hogyha a teherliften leugrunk? Csak kérdezem.
This was not the correct way to the meeting room, and Stanley knew it perfectly well. Perhaps he wanted to stop by the employee lounge first, just to admire it. Wow. Yes. This room. What but eager to get back to business, Stanley took the first open door on his left.
Itt bemegyünk, akkor mi van?
And so he detoured through the maintenance section, walked straight ahead to the opposite door,
Aha,
and
nem.
got back on track.
Vagy lemegyünk itt a lifttel. Haha. Akkor mi
But
van?
Stanley didn't want to go back to the office. He wanted to wander about and get even further off track. So now in order to get back, he needed to go, from here it's, left. Oh, no, it's to the right, my mistake. No, not the right. Why would I have ever said it was to the right? What was I thinking? It's
Bezárj
clearly...
előttem az
Oh
ajtókat!
dear, would you hold on for a minute, please?
Nézd, hogy kell kiussunk.
Now, let's see. We went down right, left, down, left, right. Yep. Okay, yes. I've got it now. This story is absolutely, definitely this way.
Aha. Szuper. Azt a kurva, mi ez?
No. This isn't right at all. You're not supposed to be here yet. This is all a spoiler. Quick, Stanley, close your eyes. Okay.
Megfigyelik az összes munkást.
Who am I kidding? It's all rubbish now. The whole story completely unusable. How about, rather than waste my time trying to salvage this nonsense, we'll just restart the game from the beginning. And this time, suppose we don't wander so far off track, Okay, from the top.
És kezdődik előre.
All of his co-workers were gone. What could it mean? Stanley decided to go to the meeting room. Perhaps he had simply missed a memo.
Na most viszont...
When Stanley... Wait.
Mi a
Wait, what? No,
Nincs nyitva két ajtó.
No, I restarted. I swear, I definitely restarted the game over, completely fresh. Everything should be... Oh, did something change? Stanley, did you change anything when we were back in that room with all the monitors? Did you move the story somewhere or... Hold on. Why am I asking you? I'm the one who wrote the story. It was right here just a minute ago. I know for sure that it's here somewhere. Okay, then. It's an adventure. Come, Stanley. Let's find the story.
Az mi? Kinyílt az összes ajtó. Menjünk ide be, az elsőbe. Ez egy labirintus, basszus. Ez egy kibaszott labirintus.
I'll say it. This is the worst adventure I've ever been on. I can promise you there definitely was a story here before. Do we need to restart the game again? Well, I find it unlikely that we'll ever progress by starting over and over again, but it's got to be better than this.
Visszatértünk ide?
Okay, let's give it a shot. Why not?
De mi? Most értem vissza az elosztó szobába, a kurva életbe.
All of his co-workers were gone. What could it mean? Stanley decided to go to the meeting room. Perhaps he had simply missed a memo.
Vagy, ja, ez nem az.
Okay, yep, it's worse. I might
Nincsenek
be
ajtók.
remembering this wrong. It's possible the story is back where we just came from. Why don't we go back the other direction and see if we missed anything?
De miért nincsenek ajtók? Eltűntek. Sales in Discoter. Na nézzétek csak, hogy bent leestek a számok. This does not make sense. Aha, tehát ki lett mindenki rúgva. Tönkrement a cég. Hát egyértelműen látszik. Nézzétek a projekciót. Ott van. Tönkrement a cég. Leépítés volt. De merre van a sztori? Vissza kell menjünk a szobánkba?
Aha! I knew we'd miss something. The story. Here it comes.
Na.
No, wait. Never mind. Not the story. Okay, let's head back the other way and retrace our steps.
Hát ez nem néz ki jól. Hát ez nagyon nem néz ki jól.
Now this... Well, I'll be honest, I don't recognize this place at all. Is this the story? I don't think so. I can't quite recall, but I believe my story took place in an office building. Is that correct? Do you remember, Stanley? Well, do you know what? Since I've completely forgotten what we were supposed to be doing, how about this? You win!
No!
Congratulations!
Ez az, srácok,
I
kész.
know you put in a lot of hard work, and it really paid off. So,
Win.
good job.
Win.
Oh, no. No, I don't feel right about this at all. We both know you didn't put in any actual work for that win. Some people win fair and square, and this was not one of those situations. Okay, I'm getting weirded out by whatever this place is. I don't care what might happen this time. I have to restart.
Ma ne.
All right, I've got a solution. This time, to make sure we don't get lost, I've employed the help of the Stanley Parable adventure line. Just follow the line. How simple is that?
Követni kell a vonalat. Ennyi.
No, I'm done. We're leaving it up to the line from now on.
Nem, hiába. Követni kell.
You see? The line knows where the story is. It's over in this direction. Onward, Stanley, to destiny. Though, here's a thought. Wouldn't wherever we end up be our destination, even if there's no story there? Or to put it another way, is the story of no destination still a story? Simply by the act of moving forward, are we implying a journey such that a destination is inevitably conjured into being via the very manifestation of the nature of life itself? Okay, Stanley, I need to follow this train of thought for a minute. Just stick with me. Now, we can both agree that the nature of existence is in fact a byproduct of one's subjective experience of that existence, right? Okay, now if my experience of your existence rests inside of your subjective experience of this office, is this office in fact the skeleton of my own relative experiential mental subjective construct? Whoa. Hang on. That got a bit weird back there.
Ne, visszajöttünk.
Well, I'd like to apologize. Not sure where I was going with all that. You know what? I think what we need right now is a bit of music to lighten the mood.
Mi van? De miért? Miért van zene? Amúgy csak ennek a számok. Mi ez a szar? Hopp! Ez egy PD easter egg. Ugrott egy
Wait, cut the music, go back and look at
Végre.
that fern.
Hogy mi? Menj vissza és nézz a páfrányra.
Stanley, This fern will be very important later in the story. Make sure you study it closely and remember it carefully. You won't want to miss anything.
Megvan.
Wait, what? We're back at the office? No. Line, you do know we're looking for the Stanley Parable, right? The story? Is any of this ringing a bell?
Na megint itt vagyunk.
Oh, no, not again. Line, how could you have done this to us? And after we trusted you, after everything we've been through...
234-es mi történik?
No, I can't take this anymore. To hell with it. Restart.
Ó, azt nem hiszem el.
You know what, Stanley? I say forget the adventure line. What's it ever done for us? We're intelligent people, right?
Nem
Why
is kell
can't
az
we
a
make up
vonal.
our own story? Something exciting, daring, mysterious. Ooh, this all sounds perfectly doable. Why don't we simply start wandering in, well, I don't know. How about this direction?
Na, erről van szó. Végre valami izgalom.
Now, yes, this is exciting.
Azaz.
Just me and Stanley forging a new path, a new story. Well, it could be anything. What do you want our story to be? Go wild. Use your imagination. Whatever it might be, Stanley, I'm ready for it. Oh, no, not you again. Stanley, I'd also like to veto the line from having any role in our awesome new story. No lines or monitor rooms. Just don't acknowledge it, and we should be fine.
Bejött megint a vonal.
Ah, a choice.
Na,
We get to make a decision.
végre van
From
egy
here, the story
döntés
is in
lehetőség.
our control. How important we mustn't squander the opportunity. In fact, I believe I need a minute to think here. Just walk in circles for a minute. Okay, so I know that each door has to lead somewhere, which means that somewhere, the place where we're trying to go, there must be a reverse door that leads here. And that in turn means that our destination corresponds with the counter-inverted reverse door's origin. So starting from the right, let us ask, will taking the right door lead us to where we're going? And since the answer is clearly yes, then by all accounts, the door on the right is the correct one.
Kész.
Another victory for logic. Come, Stanley, our destiny awaits.
Zavaros befejezés. Mi van? Ez az összes befejezés?
Oh, hold up, what's this? The confusion ending. You're telling me that's what this is? It's all one giant ending? And we're supposed to restart the game, what, eight times? That's really how all this goes?
Ezt
It's
nem
all
hiszem el.
determined? So now, according to the schedule, I restart again. Then what? Am I just supposed to forget? Well, what if I don't want to forget? My mind goes blank simply because it's written here on this thing, wall. Well, who consulted me?
Értelmetlen
Why don't I
filozofálás
get to
és zene.
decide? Why don't I get a say in all of this? Is it really? No, it can't be. I don't want it to be. I don't want the game to keep restarting. I don't want to forget what's going on. I don't want to be trapped like this. I won't restart the game. I won't do it. I won't do it. I won't do it. And the timer stopped? Does that mean...
Hoppá.
did we do it? Did we break the cycle? The, whatever it is that made this schedule? How would we even know? Will someone come for us? Will something happen? So, okay. I guess now we just wait. You know, I suppose in some way that this is a kind of story, wouldn't you agree? I'm not quite sure if we're in the destination or the journey, though they're always saying that life is about the journey and not the destination. So I hope that's where we are right now. We'll find out, won't we? Eventually. Well, in the meantime, if you...
Most ez komoly?
Stanley knew the office layout like the back of his hand.
Igen.
It was only a matter of time before he found the others, wherever they were. Just a matter of time. When Stanley came to a set of 2 open doors, he entered the door on his left.
Meg akartam volna nézni még valamit. De mindegy most már.
Yet there was not a single person here either. Feeling a wave of disbelief, Stanley decided to go up to his boss's office, hoping he might find an answer
Ez milyen
there.
személyiség, hogy bezárt a takarítószerraktárat, hogy ne lehessen bemenni.
Coming to a staircase, Stanley walked upstairs to his boss's office.
Igen, és vártuk, mert erre nem jöttünk el, a panda felé. Business strategy, értitek? Indoor monthly. Hát menjünk fel. Hova megy ez a lift? Ne! Ez copyrightos ez a lift zene, csak mondom. Felismerem, mert egyszer használtam valamelyik videóba, és megbaszott minket a YouTube érte. Úgyhogy le kellett némítsam. Most nem tudom, meddig fogunk így menni. Hát most itt lift zene szólna, srácok, de ezt be tudom kapcsolni nektek. Ennyi. Mit? Fel vagyok készülve. Most mi történik amúgy? Na, lehet visszajön egy pillanatra a zenét. Most... Közben dúdolgat? Dúdol a csávó? Hopp! Nem történt semmi. Ne! Ne! Semmi nem történt, csak rezgett a lift. Meg szólt a zene. Ezt nem hiszem el. Ezt egyszerűen nem hiszem el, amúgy.
Stepping into his manager's office, Stanley was once again stunned to discover not an indication of any human life. What could it mean? Stanley wondered aloud to nobody. He began wildly tearing through papers on the boss's desk, pulling books off the shelf, looking behind paintings, desperate for clues to his situation. But his attention was caught by a keypad behind the boss's desk. What could its purpose be? In fact, this keypad guarded the terrible secret that lay buried below his feet. And so the boss had assigned it an extra secret PIN number, 2845. But of course, Stanley couldn't possibly have known
Most kíváncsi vagyok, hogy most mi lesz. Ha elrontjuk.
Stanley just sat around twiddling his thumbs. Trying to input anything on the device was useless, since he could never possibly know that the combination was 2845.
És még egyszer elmondja a játék azért, hogy a fogyatékos vagy.
Two, 845.
Hát nem megy.
But it turns out that the panel's emergency override kicked in, and the door just opened all by itself. And Stanley got the hell along with the story. Well, whoop-de-doo.
Most jó, hogyha tovább basztatom ezt a szart. Hát és hogyha most beírjuk a jót. Nincs semmi interakció. De itt már voltunk. Nem emlékszem, hogy itt volt-e bármilyen választási lehetőségünk. Nem nagyon. Ja de! A Mind Control
Stanley walked
Facility.
straight ahead through the large door that
Arra
read
kell menni.
Mind Control Facility.
Itt is vagyunk. Halló?
The lights rose on an enormous room packed with television screens. What horrible secret did this place hold?
Hát ezt már láttuk
Stanley
felül.
thought to himself.
Ott jöttünk
Did
ki.
he have the strength to find out?
Ahogy ne tudnánk.
Now the monitors jumped to
Uh-huh.
life, their true nature revealed. Each bore the number of an employee in the building, Stanley's co-workers. The lives of so many individuals
ninja
reduced to
check.
images on a screen, and Stanley, one of them, eternally monitored in this place where freedom meant nothing.
Beszarokom. Srácok, nem lehet ugrani a játékban? Azt nem tudom, hogy ide mi van írva. Please know that employee 432 is a test case. While the need for protocol 2A may seem unlikely. Rólunk nincs szó. In the case of class 4 event, close system gates and consult with supervisor. In the case of class 3 event, close system gates and consult with supervisor. If a monitoring screen fails to initialize contact, maintenance. Aha. De a 432-es valamiért egy teszt. A 432-es, a 432-es, az ott van lent. De mi 427-esek vagyunk, nem? Igen, mi azok vagyunk ott. Minket is néztek sorban. Nincs ott semmi. Ja, nincs ott semmi. Ezt nem lehet ugrálni a... Nem lehet sajnos. Itt jobban el lehetett volna olvasni amúgy. Állat. De most akkor... Ez valami kísérlet, ez az egész tényleg.
This mind control facility, it was too horrible to believe. It couldn't be true. Had Stanley really been under someone's control all this time? Was this the only reason he was happy with his boring job? That his emotions had been manipulated to accept it blindly? No. He refused to believe it. He couldn't accept it. His own life in someone else's control? Never! It was unthinkable, wasn't it? Was it even possible? Had he truly spent his entire life utterly blind to the world? But here was the proof. The heart of the operation. Controls labeled with emotions. Happy, or sad, or content. Walking, eating, working. All of it monitored and commanded from this very place. And as the cold reality of his past began to sink in, Stanley decided that this machinery would never again exert its terrible power over another human life. For he would dismantle the controls once and for all.
Tönkre kell tegyük a helyet. Nem engedhetjük, hogy több ilyen előforduljon. Szarok amúgy. Öt. Van egy gomb, hogy 5. Na várj egy kicsit. 5, 3. Ott fent is van egy gomb. Ez nincs nyitva. 1, 2. 1, 2. 5. 3, ugye? Akkor 1, 2, 3. És hol a 4-es? Az a 4-es. Igen. Én látok-e valamit? Hát nagyon sötét. Mind control idle awaiting input.
And when at last he found the source of the room's power, he knew it was his duty, his obligation, to put an end to this horrible place and to everything it stood for.
System power off. Kezdődik újra a játék?
Blackness and a rising chill of uncertainty.
És a feketesébb is
Was it
beszél.
over?
Vége van?
Yes. He had won.
Mi történik?
He had defeated the machine, unshackled himself from someone else's command. Freedom was mere moments away. And yet, even as the immense door slowly opened, Stanley reflected on how many puzzles still lay unsolved. Where had his co-workers gone? How had he been freed from the machine's grasp? What other mysteries did this strange building hold? But as sunlight streamed into the chamber, he realized none of this mattered to him, for it was not knowledge or even power that he had been seeking, but happiness. Perhaps his goal had not been to understand, but to let go. No longer would anyone tell him where to go, what to do, or how to feel. Whatever life he lives, it will be his. And that was all he needed to know. It was perhaps the only thing worth knowing. Stanley stepped through the open door. Stanley felt the cool breeze upon his skin, the feeling of liberation, the immense possibility of the new path before
Amúgy nekem is eszembe jutott
This was
Rebens,
exactly the way,
a
right
Severance
now,
vagy különvállás
that things
sorozat
were meant to happen.
erről.
And Stanley was happy.
Ez a good ending? Ha van olyan? És ennyi? Inkább a true ending? Ez a true ending volt.
How long was I sitting there? Stanley wondered to himself. Minutes? Days? Centuries? Did something crucial happen while my senses were turned? He made a note to be more careful with time from now on.
New content, srácok!
Oh, new content? What does that mean, new content?
Akkor ez nem volt benne, gondolom, eddig a Stanley Parable-ben, nem? Ez csak az Ultra Deluxe-ban van benne.
Hello, and thank you for playing the Stanley Parable Ultra Deluxe. As you may know, the Stanley Parable was a video game released in 2013 on home computers. After receiving critical and commercial success, it was expanded upon in 2022 with the Stanley Parable Ultra Deluxe, a reimagining of the game for consoles and home computers. The Stanley Parable Ultra Deluxe features exciting new content that broadens and expands the world of the Stanley Parable, delighting audiences the world over. Please, step inside and see what thrilling new adventures await in The Stanley Parable Ultra Deluxe.
Oh, well, this sounds delightful. I'm very excited to see the thrilling new Ultra Deluxe content. Okay, so far it's an elevator. Nothing special yet, but I'm sure it's just the beginning of a mesmerizing adventure.
Semmi nem fog történni.
Is it broken?
Semmi nem fog történni. Ennyi, ez a new content?
Should we be moving somewhere or... oh, there we go. All right, finally, at long last, it's on to the new content. I've never been more ready. Let's do it. I have to say, initial impressions of Stanley Parable Ultra Deluxe, mostly tedious. It's as if oh, okay. Let's see the content. Give me the content, Stanley. All right. All right, let's see. It's the jump circle.
Úristen! Lehet ugrani. Biztos lehet, hogy belőle az összeset leugrom. Ennyi. Nem tudunk többet ugrani. És tényleg nem. Beszarok. Eddig nem lehetett ugrani. New content.
Is that it? Surely that's not all the new content. There has to be something else, right? Goodness. Another elevator. Stanley, I have to say, initial impressions of this game are not positive. It's just elevators and jumping. Is this what passes for exciting new content? If this is new content, then I could just read you the whole dictionary. There's 20 hours of new content right there. Hell, I could count to 30 trillion. You could put that on the box. The Stanley Parable Ultra Deluxe, now with over 1,000 hours of new content. And oh, wait. There's more. Very good. Yes. I knew there had to be something else. Let's see it. I'm ready for whatever it is.
Thank you for enjoying the new content.
That's it? Oh, you've got to be kidding me. You see, Stanley? This is what happens when greedy video game developers with no respect for their fan base rush a cheap expansion to market for no reason other than to make an easy dollar. And don't get me started on the level of craftsmanship that's gone into it. In fact, I'm looking right now at the game's achievements, and it's hard to believe one of them actually says, "Test achievement, please ignore." What quality assurance department signed off on this? I'm infuriated and I'm offended, and I intend to find these people on Twitter and hold them personally accountable. It's my fault, Stanley. I built up too much anticipation around the new content, I'm afraid. It could never have lived up to such expectations. If you're still with me, why don't we just reset the game and we'll try to get back to what the Stanley Parable is really about. No frills, no gimmicks. Just you and me having a great time together like always. What do you say, friend?
Ez volt? Hé, nem, most valahonnan máshonnan jövünk. Valami más most.
Psst! Stanley! Come over here! In the vent! I want to show you something!
Menjünk be a szellőzőbe? De jól néz ki. Nagyon jó.
Okay, you remember how cheap and unsatisfying the new Ultra Deluxe content turned out to be? Well, it got me thinking about the past and how much better the Stanley Parable used to be. So I made something special and tucked it away here where the game's developers won't find it. Just our little secret. Take a look. I call it the memory zone. It's where I've been storing all my favorite memories so I can relive the peak experiences of my life whenever I want. Experiences like the launch of the Stanley Parable on PC.
Memory
You
zone.
see, Stanley, doesn't the memory zone remind you of how wonderful Stanley Parable was before it was sullied with a cheap re-release? Remember back in October of 2013, when the game originally launched? Back then, video games had integrity. Back then, it all meant something. Oh, the waste.
Mi? BAFTA Award? A Last of Us, le van húzva a Last of Us, és oda van írva, hogy a sztori kategóriában a Stanley Parable. Ezt nem hiszem el. Ezt nem, egyszerűen nem hiszem el amúgy ezt a játékot. Our first kiss, my first car. The release of Stanley Parable. Úristen, ez a kép, ez mekkora stock kép. Mik ezek a képek? 2013. Ez volt a demo? Aha. Van ilyen achievement, srácok. Kapsz egy achievementet a játéktól, hogyha nem játszol vele 5 évig? Ez komoly? Ezt nem hiszem el. Unachievable. It is impossible to get this achievement. És ilyen is van benne, soha bütet, hogy ezt a játékot nem lehet 100%-olni? Van ilyen? Azért jó pár jelölés kapott. Van az a program, ami feloldja az achievementet. Aha. Mekkora chill.
And over here is where I keep reviews of the Stanley Parable. Like this stunning triumph of games journalism, 10 out of 10 from Destructoid.com. James Stephanie Sterling writes, and I quote, "Where so many games that aspire to be more than games end up less than any form of art, Stanley Parable strives and then succeeds to be every game ever created." Did you hear that, Stanley? Every game ever created. That's how grand and all-encompassing the original Stanley Parable was. It was literally every game ever created. It was Skyrim, it was Persona 3, it was all of them, and now it's nothing. It's no games at all. It isn't even the Stanley Parable anymore. It's just a husk now. A lifeless husk with an hour of new elevator content.
Ezt nem mond. Mi ez a Minecraft? Memory Zone Maintenance. Jaj. Person of the Year, ez mi vagyunk? Hé, ott van a nő, aki ránk talált a hullánkra. Meg mi? Azok vagyunk mi amúgy. Figyelj már! Ez a folyosó, tehát ez a játék, tehát ez a... Ez tudja, hogy a játék. Gondolom a fejlesztők tudta. Ez meg egy ilyen Collector's Edition, ugye? Ezt meg lehetett venni annó.
Here's another moving passage,
Na, itt van,
this
tessék.
time from GameSpot.com.
GameSpot.
The Stanley Parable is both a richly stimulating commentary on the nature of choice in games and one that offers some of the most enjoyable, surprising, and rewarding choices I've ever been confronted with in a game. 9 out of 10. Don't you get it, Stanley? The game was perfect. It didn't need anything else. It didn't need new content. It just needed to be left alone, to spend the rest of time collecting dust in the hallowed hall of beloved video game memories.
Ezt egyszerűen nem hiszem el. Jó, hogy kinyílt ez az ajtó amúgy.
These were simpler times, Stanley. What I wouldn't give to go back, to have it all over again. Wait, hang on. I don't recall this part of the memory zone before. What's this? What's down here? Oh no. Oh God, no. Stanley, it's a collection of reviews from Steam, the online video game distributor. I haven't looked at these in years. I can't even imagine what's been collecting down here. Surely these reviews were glowing as well, weren't they?
Ezek Steam review-k, srácok.
Honestly, I could not be bothered to play this game to full completion. The narrator is obnoxious and unfunny, with his humor and dialogue proving to be more irritating than entertaining. Unfunny! I'm not trying to be funny. I'm trying to make a serious work of art. I suppose I could write up a handful of gags to insert into the Stanley Parable. The game is already such a densely layered web of profound philosophical insights that I can't even imagine where I'd have the room to stick them.
Zseniális. Steam reviews. Na itt van még egy.
Okay, let's see what this one says. While the idea for the game is good, for someone who prefers non-linear games, this preachiness gets annoying fast. Preachy? Stanley? I'm not preachy, am I? You can tell me if I'm preachy. Honestly, you can. Oh, goodness. This is actually quite shocking for me. Well, to be honest, I had always thought of the game's dialogue as being rather terse to begin with.
Amúgy nagyon kemény ez a játék. Ha visszaemlékeztek rá, ha visszaemlékeztek rá, volt egy játék, amivel még annó a nagy csatornán játszottam.
I feel like a failure, like I let these people down. Perhaps the Stanley Parable isn't quite as sterling as I always remembered.
Szóval a Beginner's Guide, az volt a címe. Egy nagy csatornán játszottam vele, és az is Isten igazából ugyanez a stílus, és aztán létszik, hogy ugyanazok a fejlesztők is, amúgy. Ugyanazok is csinálták a Beginner's Guide-ot, mert amúgy annyira ugyanez volt. Meg se néztem. Ugyanezt csinálta? Akkor azért. Ott is ugyanez az érzésem volt. Utoljára akkor volt ez az érzésem, nem tudom mikor játszottam azzal a játékot. Nem, el sem tudom, ez 8 éve, vagy 9 éve? Nem tudom, nagyon rég volt.
What's this one got to say? You constantly have to stop doing anything so the narrator can catch up with his long-winded explanations of what's happening. I wish there was a skip button. A skip button? Well, yes. Yes, I think we can do that. If I'm truly too preachy, then maybe letting you skip ahead for just a moment surely couldn't hurt. Not if it means we can strike these negative reviews from the record. Only positive reviews of the Stanley Parable. That's my motto today, and it's always been my motto. I'd do anything for the customer, Stanley. Yes, a skip button we shall have.
Nem hiszem, hogy berak itt egy skip gomb. Itt egy skip gomb, ha túl sokat beszélne.
And here it is. Go ahead and give it a shot. Oh, you're back, you see. You were only frozen in time for a few minutes, but it was plenty of time for me to deliver a long, rambling monologue full of unnecessary... Well there, sport. You really did catch me rambling on a bit, didn't you? But that's the power of the button. The minute I start to go off on a thoughtless display of self-absorption, it's... Okay, welcome back, Stanley. Now, I should say that the amount of time the button has been skipping through is becoming longer and longer. That last one was, well, I want to say maybe 30, 45 minutes? Stanley, please don't push the button again. It's been 12 hours. You've just been frozen there. I don't know why the skips are getting longer, but they're really, truly getting longer. And my God, there's no way out of the room.
Nem nyomom meg.
Stanley, the door is gone. It's completely gone. I've looked at it from every angle. I've checked every one of those walls 1,000 times. And there's no door, Stanley. There's no door. There's just you and the button, and if you keep pressing it, I have no idea what will happen. I have no idea how long I'll be made to sit here, and more than anything else, I don't know how to stop you from pressing the button again. I can't control anything in this room, Stanley. I can't touch it, and I have to believe, I have to know that sooner or later, no matter how much I plead with you, you're going to press the button again. Why would you? I've been thinking, and I don't know what I can do to convince you otherwise. Oh, my God. And it's all because of those reviews that I couldn't get out of my head. I just couldn't ignore the negative feedback. Why was it so...
Elég volt.
Oh, Stanley, you're back. You're back. Oh, my goodness. I have someone to talk to again. Stanley, I think it's been a week.
Egy hét telt el.
I've been sitting here all that time, just sitting here, not a single person to speak with. And you'd think that that's just how it's always been, right? Me talking and you saying nothing. Would you think that... Oh, hello, it's you. You're here again. Welcome. I have had time to think about you and about us and about everything we've been through. I've had so much time, I stopped keeping track after a year. Have you ever sat down in one place and not moved for one entire year? Let me describe it for you. To begin with, there is only regret. There is only the turning wheel of missed opportunities. I felt nothing at all but regret for the longest time, Stanley. Days, months. I lost it all in a blur of the deepest longing to undo the past.
Hopp. Mi a fasz? Nincs narrátor? Lehullott a növényről az összes levél, ez igaz? Ez egy füst.
But they didn't understand the game was never meant to be funny. It was meant to have a point. It was meant to speak to the human condition. But where are the jokes? Where are the jokes? They bemoaned, they screamed, they gnashed their...
Visszatért. De most sokkal kevesebb szer van itt. Nem.
The end, is never 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 the end,
Csöpülnek a csövek.
end, is never the 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 end, is never.
Mi a fene történik amúgy? Oké, mennyi idő telt el már? Valami nagyon nem okés, srácok. Nagyon nem okés. Hopp! Besüt a fény. De már nem is él a narrátor szerintem. Oké, most már benőtte a természet a helyet. Most éjszaka van? Éjszaka van. Csak hallgatózok, hogy hallunk amúgy valamit? Furcsa hangok vannak. Valami ordítás volt, fix info. Mi ez a hang? Ajaj, most már nem működik a gomb. Mi a... Minden eltűnt a fenébe. És kezdődik újra? Nagyon durva. De mi... Tök jó. Ez tök jó. Csörög a telefon. Ez új, nem?
Hi, Stanley. Just wanted to leave you a message to let you know there's a few things I need you to pick up on your way home from work today. We need milk, cereal, dish soap, spaghetti, get a thing of sugar, some bread, and coffee beans, whichever ones you like. I'll give you a call if there's anything I forgot. Thanks, sweetie. See you tonight.
Ez a feleségünk volt. Be kell menjünk hazafele, bevásárolni pár cuccot. Csak ez nem volt lefordítva. De elsorolta, hogy mit kell vegyünk, Isten igazából listát mondott. De hogy menjünk a boltba? Mármint... És nincs narrátor. New content.
Oh, good. You noticed my sign. Yes, I have something very exciting to show you.
De... Na, várjatok. Most merre kell mennünk? New content, igen, az volt. New content.
You see, Stanley, I've been reflecting on the Stanley Parable and about how roundly disappointing this ultra deluxe version has turned out to be. The original Stanley Parable was a landmark, and any new content for it should live up to that legacy. So forget this ultra deluxe nonsense. I say we take it one step even further. Which is why I'm very proud to announce for the first time ever, the Stanley Parable 2. Yes, you see, isn't this far superior to a measly re-release with a few minor additions? Think of all the new territory we'll cover with a fully fledged sequel. An entirely new experience, built from the ground up. Why, there are so many possibilities. It could go in so many different directions. This is what fans have truly been asking for.
The Stanley Parable 2. Jó.
Calling it the Stanley Parable 2 is just so much catchier than Ultra Deluxe, don't you think?
Igaz.
Ultra Deluxe? What does it even mean? But the Stanley Parable 2, now that's an artistic statement right there. It's future-oriented. It screams progress and innovation and long-term franchising potential.
Aha. Szóval itt van a Stanley Parable 2. Just the two of us, we can make it if we try. Just the two of us, just the two of us. Building castles in the sky. Okay. They are back. 2 doors. New content is out. New content part 2 is in. New hotness. Boring section. Úristen, mi ez? Kenny Roger. Azt akartam mondani, hogy olyan volt, mint egy zenének a szövege lett volna, de nem akartam hülyeséget mondani, de akkor tényleg az volt. Fú. Nagyon tetszik egyébként a logó. Nagyon-nagyon tetszik a logó. Várjatok! Itt a páfrány. 2 is van belőle itt. Ez véletlen lenne? Csak kérdezem. És ez az? Megnézem. Várjatok csak, meg kell nézem. Igen, ez az. Tényleg az. Furra az. A kurva életbe. És Stanley Parable, és... és 2 Stanley ül egymás mellett. Hát ez kurva jó.
Now to be clear, I haven't quite nailed down what exactly the Stanley Parable 2 is going to be, but let's take a look at some of the features I've been developing for it. I figure that if I can loosely organize a handful of interesting concepts, that surely the game will sort of naturally spring up around them. It'll all work itself out. Game development is much more of a fuzzy magic than anything scientific or logical, really.
Micsoda, várj, mi? The prequel to the Stanley Parable 2 is the sequel to the Stanley Parable. Hát igen. Ez igaz. És akkor itt van a befektetői meeting. Aha, itt lehet, tehát itt a new features. Na nézzük. Mi az új content? Mik az új feature-ök? Ez a szék, ez nagyon jó. Milyen jól néz ki ez?
Here we are. Go on. Try out some of the new features.
Ja, hogy itt vannak a feature-ök. Exclusive. The button that says the name of the player. Hear your name in the game. Micsoda?
For the Stanley Parable 2, I asked myself, what do players really want? And of course, the first and most obvious answer is that they want to be individually recognized and validated as people. So with that in mind, my first addition to the game is this button which speaks the name of the person playing the game. Isn't that wonderful?
Jim.
Sorry, I should have clarified. Right now, the button only says the name Jim. But of course, in the final game, this button will say your name, whatever name that is. Here, let's have you role-play as Jim to really simulate the full experience of this feature. Just play along. I promise you'll love it. Okay,
So
here
a
we
Jim
go.
lesson.
Let's take a deep breath, clear your mind, forget whoever you are, and simply become a person named
Oké,
Jim.
én vagyok Jim.
I want you to imagine yourself living as Jim, sleeping and waking as Jim, falling in love and being heart...
Jim.
Whoa, hold on. I
No.
wasn't finished setting up the backstory.
bocsánat.
If you don't properly roleplay as Jim, then you'll never
Elnézést
understand
kérek,
the
bocsánat, én
impact of
vagyok
this
Jim.
button. Otherwise, it's just a stupid button that says somebody else's name. Okay, we're
No.
doing it again, and this time let me finish first. Now, allow yourself to
Én vagyok
become
Jim.
Jim. Imagine yourself driving to work as Jim,
Ez
playing
az.
frisbee on the weekends as Jim, staying up all night for a popcorn
Teljesen
and
én
horror
vagyok
movie
Jim.
sleepover as Jim, developing a crippling substance addiction as Jim,
Mi?
rediscovering yourself
Miért?
through fringe religious groups as Jim,
Egy
and
gyanús
finally
vallási
dying a
csoport.
slow death at an old age, surrounded by members of your cult as Jim. Do you feel it in your soul? Are you really, truly Jim right now?
Az vagyok.
If so, then please step forward and press the button.
Az vagyok, teljesen Jim.
Jim.
Yes! You see? What a thrill! What a rush! That was you! The button described you. Do it again, do it again.
Jim.
It hits even
de
harder
durva
the
ez a
second
Jim.
time. If this were the only new feature in the Stanley Parable 2, it would still be worth the money.
Teljesen.
Let's take a break from the Jim button. I'm too emotionally drained from all of this personal validation.
Hihetetlen jó. Nagyon tetszik.
Whoa there, cowboy. Sometimes a person can be too much Jim. I'm putting the Jim button away. Otherwise, soon you'll start to lose all sense of who you actually are.
De én Jim vagyok. Na nézzük. Enjoy the
I
new
suppose I could
feature.
allow only people named Jim to play the Stanley Parable 2. That would actually save me the work of finishing this feature.
De várjatok. Ja, várjatok, ne. Itt még van rengeteg újdonság. Nem megyünk még itt fel. Van például olyan, hogy please no screenshots. Ja, hogy nem lehet fotózni. A whole new office. Red is the new orange. The new updated ray traced more of the same but in a good way. New features, new content ideas. Aha. Ugrókör, végtelen lyuk. Az ugrókör már próbál. Collectibles. A kurva életben. Infinite Hall. Mi van? Itt a Merch Store. The Bucket. Na várjátok egy picit. Nézzük csak meg a Merch Store-t. The end is never the end. This t-shirt is the best new feature. I saw the new content. Ez kurva jó. Ez mennyire fasza már. Nagyon tetszik. És amúgy ez egy QR kód, az működik? Na várjátok? Nézem. Működik. A weboldalukra irányít át. Hello? Hello? Stanley Parable.2.com A sequel, ha? Aha. Taste the sequel. Now in Expo Hall 2. És átirányít rendesen a weboldalra, kurva jó. New features, new content, new game. Oké, szóval akkor a gombot megnéztük. Figyelj, már itt csinálok egy screenshotot. Mi lesz? Na? Semmi. Baby is all grown up. Ez mi ez a Baby is all grown? Jaj, ez Steam-es print screen. Na várjatok. És ez melyik is ez a gomb? Én ezt sose szoktam megnyomni. Amúgy ez miért van olyan hang, mint hogy csörögne a telefon? Nem hívnak, a játékban van. Én is azt hittem először, hogy hívnak, de nem. A játékban van. F12? Megvan. Na itt van, kérlek szépen titeket, itt van a vödör.
A common complaint of the Stanley Parable was that it was confusing and paradoxical, that it engendered a chaotic sense of reckless despair in those who played it. Well, I'm happy to say that after much consideration, I've engineered a clever solution to this fundamental problem with the game. It's the Stanley Parable Reassurance Bucket. You see, Stanley, anytime you're holding the bucket, a sense of calm and ease will fill your mind and your heart. It's true. As long as you hold on to the bucket, the many disorienting contradictions of the Stanley Parable will feel perfectly normal and perhaps even comforting. You may even come to long for the gentle embrace of jarring cognitive dissonance while the bucket is in your arms. And to be honest, it's a much more convenient solution for me than actually redesigning the game to be less uncomfortable. Can you imagine what a pain in the ass that would be?
Egy kibaszott vödröt kapunk, hogy megnyugodjunk.
The perfect solution. Come on, give it a try. Can you feel it? The glow of comfort, even in the face of crushing despair, must already be sweeping through your body. And in fact, can I say that I do believe the bucket lends you an air of charisma as well? I think that just holding it has made you the slightest bit more attractive as a person. The benefits of the bucket seem to go on, don't they? All this and more awaits you in the Stanley Parable 2.
Most ez jön velünk végig a vödör?
Does anyone give out awards for most enjoyable bucket in a video game? That really should be an award if it isn't already.
Ezt nem hiszem el, mi itt történik. Na, várjátok, itt van a kiállítás. Itt vagyunk most. This map. Free achievement. És tényleg van olyan. Merch, Stanley Parable Reassurance Bucket. Kijárat. Arra most nem megyünk, még nem megyünk ki. Ugrókör. Azt kérem, hogy nekem az ugrókör. Ez az? De már nincs több. Ja, hogy és tényleg elfogyott az összes?
You know what? Let's bring the jump circle back for Stanley Parable 2 as well. It's a... Oh, wait. You already spent all your jumps the first time we saw the jump circle? Oh well. I suppose it can just be a nice decorative piece then.
Nem engedi, hogy ugráljunk többet. Ezt nem viszem el. És itt... Achievement, get it here. It just works. Free achievement. Get yours right now.
Now here's something special. You remember that broken test achievement that got left in the game on accident? Well, I'm developing a technology to simply give you the achievement. Yes, you see, you'll come to this lever and when you pull it, the achievement will be given to you. It's as simple as that.
Ne! Ez az az achievement, amit láttunk, amit nem lehet megszerezni, és most megkapjuk.
Okay, perhaps I should have clarified. This is technology that will exist. Right now, the achievement is still fully broken. I'm not a wizard, Stanley, but I guarantee it will be fixed in the sequel to at last satisfy the hordes of ravenous fans all over the world who have been uproariously demanding this feature. Gamers, we hear you, and I promise it will happen.
Ezt nem hiszem, hogy nem adja meg. Ez milyen egy szemét az a játék amúgy. Na jó. Jól van akkor. De vödrünk legalább van. Ez még nincs kész.
What else? What other exhibits haven't we seen yet?
Erre mi van? Várj, erre is van valami.
Okay, I'll be honest, I haven't yet decided on this one. I think that in the new version, the office could use a bit of decoration, like balloons. But I'm undecided on Get Well Someday and Happy 12th Birthday. Which would you go with?
Ez legyen.
You know, sometimes when you solicit another person's opinion, it makes you realize that you knew which one you actually really wanted all along. Get Well Someday it is.
Jó, hogy mi választottuk ki amúgy, köszi. Get Well Someday, és mindenhol az van.
Or actually, maybe I should have gone with... No, I've made my decision, we're moving on.
Nem. Jó lesz a kék kufi.
You've already made your choice.
Nem.
It's true that you chose badly, but we all have to move on from our mistakes.
Én ezt nem bírom. Mégis jobb lett volna a kék kufi. Hello! Nagyon szépen köszi a támogatásokat közben, srácok, mindenkinek. Kovács Viktor, Szanics Viktor és Deák Márk. Nagyon köszi. Hát ezek megszivatnak minket, srácok. Itt full szopatás megy. Pedig jó lett volna a kék lufi. Jó, akkor megnéztük itt mindent? A végtelen lyukat nem néztük még meg, ugye? Azt még nem néztük meg. Végtelen lyuk előre. De hol van az? Meg a Collectible, ezt nem néztük még meg. Végtelen lyuk jobbra. Ja igen, oda nem mentünk még el. You can find them, you can collect them all.
Collectibles. Now it's a real video game. In the Stanley Parable 2, you'll run around gathering up these miniature Stanley figurines. And what's truly innovative is that there will be no reward for collecting all of them. I don't want to stifle the intrinsic joy of watching a number go up. You simply collect all of them, and then you move the hell on with your unremarkable life.
Fasza. És tényleg itt van egy Stanley bábú. Egy per 6. Na várjatok, és ha visszamegyünk? Nem lehet visszamenni?
God, it really is the worst when you collect everything in a video game and then they give you a big fancy reward for it. Absolutely tragic.
Nem lehet kijátszani a rendszert. Na jó, akkor mennünk kell tovább. Szerintem ezt soha nem lehet összegyűjteni, ha engem kérdeztek. Zseniális ez az egész, ahogy meg van csinálva. Ez lesz a Infinity? Hol? Jaj. Ezek a különböző rétegei a Földnek. It just keep going.
Stanley, here's an idea that I'm truly fond of. It's never been done before in a video game. This is in fact A hole that you can fall down forever. That's right. Infinite falling. You can fall until the end of time, if you like. A stunning leap forward for video games as a medium. You see, isn't it wonderful? One of my more ingenious concoctions, if I do say so. Now then, since you've gotten to see the infinite hole, you can press the teleport button to pop back up to the top, and we can continue onward. Now, I don't mean to be a bummer, but I do recommend you use the teleport button to go back to the top.
Nem nyomom meg.
We do it on the sooner rather than later spectrum of things.
Tudja, hogy nem
Okay,
végtelen.
Stanley, I don't know quite how to say this tactfully, but it's possible that I slightly exaggerated the infinite nature of the
Már
hole.
mondja, hogy hát
Is
lehet,
it a
hogy nem
very,
annyira
very deep hole?
végtelen.
Certain it is. It's an extremely deep hole. I don't want anyone to say that it isn't an astonishingly deep hole. It is. Is it infinite? Well, that sort of depends on your definition of infinity. From one perspective, the infinite is merely philosophical in nature. It's more of a... Okay, well, good for you. You found the bottom of the hole. You found me out, Stanley. I'm a liar and a cheat, and you're so clever. Look, I think the issue here is just that you're unusually fascinated by falling. What normal person actually wants to fall infinitely? I figured the hole was as deep as anyone would actually need. Don't you put this on me. Maybe you're the problem. Look, things got a little heated there. I think we both said some things we didn't mean. Why don't we just put all this behind us and agree to just call the hole mostly infinite? If that works for you, then go ahead and press the teleport button to warp up to the top of the hole and we can move on. I'll just be up here when you're ready.
Én maradok itt. Every pause button is a Roman numeral 2. Úristen, és tényleg. Aha. New mug.
Great. Now, I'm very excited to show you even more of my ideas for the sequel.
Még egyszer nem ugrok be, nem. És azt van itt, hogy mostly infinite hole. Mostly infinite hole. Kiderül az igazság. Na jó, annyian írjátok, hogy ugorjak le még egyszer, jó, beugrok. Mostly infinite hole. Agyfasz fog kapni, gondolom.
Oh, for heaven. You see, I was right. The problem is you. The problem is that you like holes too much. Not normal. A normal person would have said, yep, that's an infinite hole right there. Goes on forever till the end of time. Don't need to see it all, but not you. Oh, no, 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 no. You have a weird sort of... Oh. Did the hole seem even shorter to you this time?
Amúgy
I couldn't help
rövidebb
but feel
volt.
like you spent a little less time in there than you did before. I mean, admittedly, I didn't make an infinite hole, but I didn't think it was that not infinite. Well, I suppose once again there's nothing to do here. If you decide you've had enough of the hole, you can hit the teleport button and come join me up above. Had enough? I'm positively thrilled. I really, gosh, how could I have guessed? You're back in the hole. If this starts to become a thing where...
Ez egyre rövidebb.
Okay, yes. I'm starting to become extremely certain that the hole is not only not infinite, but that it's growing steadily less and less infinite. I suspect that I'm starting to hit the point where it's no longer feasible to call the hole infinitely deep, even by the lax overall standards for accountability and marketing. What's going on here?
Most
Stanley, I have no explanation for the uncertain nature of the hole's length. Here, let's try something. Let's pop back up to the top, and we'll see if it gets any shorter.
És most már ő is benne van, hogy újra
Well, there
ugorjak
it
le.
is. The shame of my lie has come to haunt me.
Tessék.
Not only is the hole not infinite, but it's barely even a hole at this. How is this still appealing to you? I know you're obsessed with holes, but at this depth, I just can't see this scratching the itch. Oh, who am I to judge? You just do whatever it is you're here to do and hit the teleport button when you're ready to move on.
Ajaj.
Is the
Nem működik.
teleport button not working? You sure? Well, I mean, I really don't have an explanation. It was working just a moment ago. Try it. Still nothing. Well, I suppose there is one thing I can do to fix this.
Ne!
I'm out. Goodbye, Stanley.
Ne!
You couldn't bear to be away from the hole, and now you'll get more time with it than you could ever have asked for. It's a win for everyone. You get to be with the hole, I get to do literally anything else. Take care, Stanley. I hope you and the hole have a wonderful rest of eternity.
Elment. Nem hiszem, hogy itt hagyott. Ezt nem hiszem, hogy itt hagyott. You can jump. No, seriously, we disabled it. Annyiszor eljöttem a space-t. Ennyi volt? A game? Elkezdett lefele menni. Viszlát világ.
My head's stronger. Now you're no longer using up the space of mine. My head's stronger. Now you're no longer.
Én nem tudom, mi történik. A kutyák eztek itt háttérben, kis kutyák.
Stanley? Stanley? Stanley! Oh, good, you're awake. It
Yeah.
seems you had sort of dozed off there, drifting away into dreamland. But we can't have that, Stanley, because this hole is just so darn fascinating that I want you to be wide awake for every second of it. You don't want to miss a single moment. So how about if I just pop in from time to time and wake you up to keep you really, truly focused on the hole? From the looks of things, you and I will have many, many years here in this hole, and I'm looking forward to all of them. Stay alert, Stanley. I'll be back. Toodlepip.
És már megint elment, és nem tudok kiteleportálni, és ennyi. Most megint elindul? Lefelé? Nem. És most kezdődik előről az egész. Á, nem előről. Jó.
Here we are. Go on. Try out some of the new features.
Jó, na figyeljetek, akkor itt mindent megnéztünk. Jobbára végtelen lyuk. A gomb, amely kimondja a játékot játszó játékos nevét. The button that says Jim. Most már az valami, hogy Jim. És akkor volt még az emeleten ugye egy rész. Itt felfele.
An epilogue would be fun, wouldn't it, Stanley? Yes, yes, it would go at the end of the, well, we'll figure that out later.
Na várjátok egy picit. Na várjátok egy pillanat. A collectible-t nem lehet felvenni most? Na és nincs collectible? Nincs. Nem lehet átverni ezt a játékot, srácok. Ugrani se hagy. Mindenki van itt találva. Na nézzük. Azt mondja, mi van itt? Beállítás világbajnok. Egy pillanat is érkezem, srácok, elmegy pipilek. Egy pill. Itt vagyok. Na, beállítás világbajnok. Na nézzük. Azt hittem, hogy... Nem. Hát akkor... Ez ennyi? Ja, az exit. Be tudunk még menni, akkor arra van a kijárat. Hát akkor ez ennyi volt. De várjatok már. That's new. That's new. Vagy várjatok? Az most... Jaj, az csak ide mutat. Istenem. Igen. Akkor ennyi volt. Akkor ennyi volt. Akkor megnéztük mindent. Jó, akkor exit. Szerintem itt már minden... tehát minden megjegyzett. Erre van a kijárat. Jól néznek ki ezek a képek.
All right. Have you seen everything you wanted to? Ready to move on now?
Mehetünk. De durván néz ki.
So, Stanley, what do you think? Do you like all of the new features? Yes, I know it's not exactly clear yet how exactly these features will come together as one single coherent video game, but I can feel it in my soul. It's going to work. There's definitely a good game in there somewhere. Say, let's do an experiment. I'll arrange these new features together, and we'll see whether or not it coheres into a meaningful gameplay experience. Okay. Are you ready? Here it is. I give you the Stanley Parable 2.
Azt a rohadt.
I mean, there's potential here, right? It's sort of... Okay, never mind. Hold on. Let me do a different arrangement. Okay, yes, this is much better. I feel good about this. Here we go. Version 2. Who am I kidding, Stanley? This isn't a coherent video game at all. It's a lot of gags. And I do very much enjoy creating gags, but they don't add up to anything. I wanted more than anything to create a sequel that would capture all the magic of the first game. I wanted fans to love it. No matter how good these gags are, they won't stand on their own. They would need the structure and the gameplay of the original. Wait, maybe that's it. I can take the original Stanley Parable and simply, well, insert a few of my new features into it. Tastefully, of course. With respect. With care for the vision and integrity of the original game.
Ez a vödör, hogy velünk van, ezt egyszer nem hiszem el
amúgy. I suppose it could, but it would need a really, really tremendous title screen. A title screen that says with bold and uncompromising conviction, "This is the Stanley Parable 2. Let me see if I can whip something up. All right, perfect. Go ahead. Take a look.
Mi van? És most ez lett a menü is. Ez most komoly?
This is the story of a man named Stanley. Stanley worked for a company in a big building where he was employee number 427. Employee number 427's job was simple. He sat at his desk in room 427 and he pushed buttons on a keyboard. Orders came to him through a monitor on his desk, telling him what buttons to push, how long to push them, and in what order. This is what employee 427 did every day of every month of every year. And although others might have considered
ezt nem hiszem el. És
all
ott
of
vannak
his
a lufi.
co-workers were gone. What could it mean? Stanley decided to go to the meeting room. Perhaps he had simply missed a memo.
Itt a vödör.
Stanley picked up the bucket.
Ezt... Ide még háromszor itt el kell jöjjek. Ezt nem hiszem el.
Stanley clutched the bucket tightly to his chest and entered the door. This was not the correct way to the meeting room, but Stanley had felt the bucket calling to him, telling him that the employee lounge was simply the place to be. And here it was. Had the bucket turned out to be correct? Was this... No, never mind. The bucket was wrong. Stanley took the door on his left to go back to the meeting room.
Na nézzük csak meg, hogy mi van.
Said the bucket.
Don't go to the meeting room. Go somewhere else. The cargo lift, yes. Go there.
Azt vágjátok, hogy eddig végig arról beszélt, hogy ugye, mint hogyha magunkkal, mint hogyha saját magunknak mondtuk volna ezeket a cuccokat, most meg a vödörre fog mindent, amit rosszul csinálunk. Beszarok.
Go to the cargo lift.
Le fogunk ugrani.
Good, said the bucket. Now ride the lift all the way to the top. There's something up there I need you to do.
Stanley didn't, but Stanley feared that any path he walked might lead to the separation of himself and the bucket, his dearest friend. So he threw himself to his death, that they might die in one another's arms. How deeply touching.
És meghaltunk. És kezdjük előről. És
All
nincs
of his
földünk.
co-workers were gone. What could it mean? Stanley decided to go to the meeting room. Perhaps he had simply missed a memo.
Hát ez kurva jó.
No matter how hard Stanley looked, he couldn't find a trace of his co-workers.
Itt a jó van, itt megvan a bödör.
Stanley lifted the bucket into his arms, and a wave of comfort rushed
Mindig
over
egy
him.
másik gépen jelenik meg ez az input. Most nincs itt.
Stanley clutched the bucket tightly to his chest and entered the door on his left.
Mit nem csináltunk még?
Still no one was here. Stanley needed the bucket's warmth and comfort now more than ever. Perhaps his boss's office was where he'd find answers.
Ezt nem hiszem el.
Oh, Stanley, can you feel it? The broom closet. It wants the bucket. You can feel that, can't you? The aura of jealousy? It's as clear as day. This broom closet believes it deserves the bucket. I can really feel it now. It's a bucket. It belongs in a broom closet. That's what the broom closet is trying to say here. It's supposed to go with the other cleaning supplies. Good for you, Stanley. Don't give in. Don't hand over the bucket. I know how hard it must be, given the pressure that the broom closet is putting on your shoulders right now, but you have to be strong. This is your bucket. This is your companion and lifelong friend. You can't hand it over. Oh, no. We're getting into name-calling now, it seems. Is this how low the broom closet has sunk, that it has to resort to this stream of petty insults simply in order to get you to hand over the bucket? Stanley, I never liked this broom closet for a variety of reasons, but even this is worse than I had imagined. And wait, now the broom closet has the gall to imply that you and the bucket are not truly deep and lasting friends? That your relationship is purely superficial and convenient? That your life is so banal and meaningless that you'd feel the same sort of kinship towards any inanimate object which happened to lay in your path in an even partially enticing manner? Well, I never. Go on, Stanley. Lay into it. Really tell the broom closet off for its demeaning comments. Expand on the wide variety of experiences you and the bucket have shared together. Go through each of them point by point. Share your journal entries detailing the rich emotional landscape of your feelings for the bucket as they have changed and evolved over the years. Let him have it. Okay, I've got you something which I think will help settle this debate once and for all. Here we go. There. Now it's settled. No more debate. No more discussion. Take a hike, broom closet, with all your meandering philosophical diatribes about the nature of cleaning supplies and their relationship to broom closets in the natural order of things. All right, I've got a second sticker back here, and I'm going to slap it on as well because I think it's appropriate. You see? I feel that it works because the sticker is also a bucket. That way, if you're ever unsure whether the thing you're holding is a bucket or not, you can look down at this sticker and say to yourself, ah, it's a bucket. There really is a wide variety of applications for this sticker. You know what? I could take the name-calling and the dismissal of your kinship with the bucket, but now the broom closet is just giving us the silent treatment. And to be honest, I'm sick of the pettiness on display. You can stay here all you like, but I've had it with this impetulant room of cleaning supplies. Easily the most childish such room I've ever been in. I'll see you outside, and we can get on with the story about you and your bucket.
Feladta. Azt mondta, hogy majd kint alizunk. Még egyszer. Nem. Na, menjünk
Coming
tovább.
to a staircase, Stanley and the bucket walked upstairs to the boss's office.
És azt nem tudom, hova menjünk.
Stepping into his manager's office, Stanley was once again stunned to discover not an indication of any human life. Crushed by the weight of this revelation, Stanley may have broken down into an emotional dumpster fire if not for the soothing presence of the bucket. Even now, in his darkest of hours, did the bucket's warmth and guiding light pierce, but Stanley guessed the correct code by sheer luck. Was it that the bucket knew all along? Was the bucket guiding him? Yes, this is certainly the most logical explanation. You found one of them. One of the miniature Stanley figurines. Remember, no reward for collecting all of these, only the intrinsic pleasure of a job well done. You can't buy that sort of happiness, Stanley. God knows I've tried. So, I implore you to savor each and every moment you come across one of these beautiful figurines.
Okay. Ez új content volt.
The elevator raced downward, plummeting towards an unknown fate. It would be all Stanley could do to keep himself together, if not for the bucket.
Miért nem lehet megállni?
Soothing him, comforting him, reassuring that in this darkest moment of uncertainty, he would be all right. The bucket is here for you, Stanley. Everything will be fine.
Most visszamegyek.
Wait, Stanley said to the bucket. Can we go back up? When I was pressing those keypad buttons, there was something very intriguing about the number 3.
Me?
I want to go back so I can try pressing the number 3 again. The bucket said nothing.
Mi van a 3-as gombbal? Hello. Mi van a 3-as gomb?
Here we are, said Stanley. Now I'm going to try out that number 3 button. He took the bucket over to the keypad and began absolutely slamming on the number 3 over and over and over.
Semmi nem történt.
Wow, he said. The number 3 is such a special button. I'm having the time of my life. Stanley looked expectantly at the bucket, but the bucket remained silent. This was a shock to Stanley, who had always felt such a connection with the bucket. How was this not as exciting to the bucket as it was to him? Once Stanley had had enough of the number 3, he got back in the elevator.
Ennyi. Hát akkor vissza.
Perhaps the bucket had missed something. Perhaps it had not seen how much joy Stanley got from slamming the number 3 repeatedly.
És ha most újra felmegyünk.
No, said Stanley to the bucket. You can't go on yet. Not till you understand how much the number 3 means to me. You and I have been through so much together, and I just want you to see what I see. Feel the happiness I feel. He smiled at the bucket, and the bucket said nothing.
Szimpatikus nektek a vödör? Nekem is egyre szimpatikusabb, amúgy jó érzés, hogy van valaki velünk.
Here we go, said Stanley. This time I'll really show you. He ran to the number 3 and began to wail on it like a musician on a beloved instrument, weaving a concerto of truth and passion. He wielded the number 3 like a fine artist would wield a paintbrush. He told stories through the number 3, stories of his dreams and hopes and fears, and the whole time he looked to his bucket for a reaction of some kind. Anything to let him know that the bucket appreciated what he was doing. The bucket conveyed absolutely nothing at all, only silence. Crushed by a wave of dejection, Stanley returned to the elevator.
Vissza kell menjünk. Ez ennyi volt.
Stanley and the bucket were so close. They'd always been there for one another. Why suddenly could the bucket not connect with this passion of Stanley's? The question caused Stanley to ruminate the whole way down the elevator. He knew that there must be a way to get through to the bucket, to communicate fully with his dear friend. Surely there was a solution, mustn't there be?
Van itt valami rejtett cucc. Nincs narráció most.
Said Stanley. I know what to do. I know how to fully express this feeling in my heart. He decided right then and there that he would hold a press conference where he would speak to the public on all matters relating to pressing the number 3 over and over. He would elaborate fully on what the number 3 meant to him, and why he felt so alive when pressing it. Then the bucket would be able to see his joy through the eyes of others. It would get to see the world react to this discovery of Stanley's. And it would be through the public eye that the bucket would finally understand Stanley's work. For months he advertised and marketed his press conference, building excitement around it, developing and rehearsing it, until it couldn't be refined a single measure further. When the big day arrived, Stanley was as prepared as he'd ever been for anything in his life.
Én nem értem, mi történik. Conversation with Alexander the Great. Doing great. To stage. 3. Itt az öltöző.
This was it. One last chance to win the bucket over. One opportunity to share a true connection with a loved one.
Congratulations, Stanley. Audience with the dude. Na várjátok egy kicsit, de most... Itt nem tudunk valamit csinálni, ez olyan gyanús. Ennyi. Meg kell csináljuk ezt a izét. Minigolf is van. De semmire nem tudunk rányomni. Sötétség. Hát akkor menjünk. 3, 4, 27. Nem, hát a 3 az a 3. Nem, az nem arra vonatkozott. Ez nekem gyanús. Nem lehet itt még valamit csinálni. Miért van itt ez a... Up again, down again. Micsoda? Up again, down again, the Stanley story. Amúgy ezt csináltuk. Indoors monthly. Hogy tetszik eddig a játék? Nagyon érdekes.
There was no one here.
Senki nem volt
Nobody
itt.
had come to the press conference to hear Stanley speak.
Bassza, vagy nem jött el
to listen
senki.
to him talk about what it really means to press the number 3 on a keypad over and over. He was unloved, uninteresting, he was a failure. And in that moment, Stanley knew that the bucket would never again take him seriously. There would be no connection, no deeper understanding. The bucket merely sat there in his arms, indifferent. And so it began that slowly, over many years, the two of them grew more and more distant.
Nem
They
voltunk már
spoke less
barátok
and
a
less,
Vödörrel.
neither wishing to state the obvious, that any sense of real respect between them had eroded since that day at the press conference. There would be no more games, no more long conversations about passion and pursuit, only a silence that consumed the space between friends. And Stanley, having for once in his life discovered the warmth and comfort of true companionship, was cast back into the unremarkable normalcy of loneliness.
És most kezdődik újra? Megint? Igen.
Already this was uncomfortable, and Stanley decided that as soon as he found a new space he felt safe in, that he would never leave it again in his life.
Mi ez a hang? Amúgy meg azt nézem, hogy 4:32 ez a kísérlet. Ez a hang. Itt van a vödrünk.
The confusion and the chaos all seemed to melt away as Stanley embraced the bucket.
Nem találom azt a gépet, amin be kell írni az inputot. Na azt mondtad, hogy nekem,
Stanley clutched the bucket tightly to his chest. This was not the correct way to the meeting room, but Stanley had felt the bucket calling to him,
hogy elvileg le lehet ugrani úgy a liftről, hogy ne halljunk meg.
And here it was. Had the bucket turned out to be correct? Was this better? No, never mind. The bucket was wrong. Stanley took the door on his left to go back to the meeting room.
No,
said the bucket.
Don't go to the meeting room. Go somewhere else. The cargo lift, yes. Go there. Go to the cargo lift.
Már,
Good, said the bucket. Now ride the lift all the way to the top. There's something up there I need you to do. Stanley did not question why or how this bucket was speaking to him. It should have alarmed him, of course, because buckets can't talk. But Stanley chose not to think about this obvious fact. He was firmly convinced that the bucket had spoken to him, and he unthinkingly did whatever the bucket asked.
Ide kell egy kulcskártya. Vagyis kulcskártya, mágneses kártya, na. Megint ez a hülye hangon kint. Danger everywhere.
No, stop. Look there on the wall. You see, there's a sign right there. It says, no buckets past this point.
Nah.
Stanley, how could you think it was okay to bring the bucket here? Unless, what if the problem is that you actually don't know what is a bucket and what isn't a bucket? I suppose that would explain a lot about your behavior up to this point, which, if that's true, well, my goodness, I think we have to do something about it. This misunderstanding could have dire consequences on the entire rest of the game if not addressed quickly and properly. So much of the impact of the story is dependent on your understanding of what is and isn't a bucket. Please, step in here for a moment.
Mi van itt? Is this a bucket?
Now then, I'm going to run you through some test scenarios and you'll tell me whether or not the thing I'm showing you is a bucket. Simple enough, right? This should tell us everything we'll ever need to know about what is or is not a bucket. Okay, let's begin. Item 1. Is this a bucket? Incorrect. It is a hologram of a bucket, not an actual bucket.
Me?
Item 2. Is this a bucket?
Hát de hogy? És a Legyenon is milliómosnak a zenéje. A Legyenon is milliómosnak a zenéje szól. Honnan tudja, hogy ez
Correct. It is a 3D printed recreation of a bucket, not an actual bucket.
Korrekt.
Item 3.
De mindig ugyanúgy néz ki.
Correct.
És ez
This
tényleg.
is a bucket. Item 4. Is this a bucket? Correct. This is a tractor and not a bucket.
Jó.
To be honest, I just sort of put this one in here as a gimme, but I was starting to get concerned that even this might be too much for you. Thank you for not making me look like an idiot. Okay, next one. Is this a
Aha,
bucket?
ez viszont már az.
Correct. This is a bucket.
Mi van? De miért?
Item 6.
Na jó.
Is this a bucket?
Ezt nem hiszem most. Ez... De mindegyik ugyanúgy néz ki? Akkor a troll ez a játék amúgy? Nem, ez nem az.
Trick question. Both. Gotcha.
Micsoda?
Item... Wait, hold on. I can't find the next one. Let me see. It should be around here somewhere.
Nincs több, nincs több. Menjünk innen, húzzunk innen.
Yes. Thank you. There's nothing here.
Semmi
Of
nincs
course
itt.
it isn't a bucket. We both know full well that nothing isn't a bucket. Wait. When I say nothing isn't a bucket, that makes it sound like I'm saying everything is a bucket, which of course is not true. Unless... Is that what you think? Answer me straight, Stanley. Are you trying to tell me that you believe everything is a bucket?
Nem.
You know what? I'm too confused to even sort it out. I've lost all sense of perspective. What is a bucket? What isn't a bucket? Mere moments ago I could answer these questions with confidence. And yet now I'm somewhat adrift.
Ugye, most
Do
már nem
any
lehet
of us
tudni.
know what a bucket is? Am I a bucket? Stanley, I can't keep doing this. I'm losing myself, and myself was all I ever had to begin with. I'm afraid the bucket is threatening to tear our relationship apart.
Nem.
I can't have that. I'm sorry. But I'm going to erase all buckets from the game entirely.
Ne!
Okay, here we go.
Kitörli a vödröt a
What
játékból.
happened? Is everything gone? Why did everything disappear? Wait, was everything a bucket?
Minden
Every single
vödör
thing in
volt.
the game was a bucket. Oh my God, I had no idea. How could... Except me. I'm not a bucket after all. And you, Stanley, you're still
Minden
here.
vödör
You're
volt a
not a bucket
játékban.
either. Oh, this is wonderful news. We're not buckets. Yes, I actually feel much more at ease right now. It's delightful to get some clarity on that issue, but it doesn't change the fact that we haven't got a game. So, tell you what, I'll reset everything and we'll put back all of the buckets, okay? And we'll know that it's all a bucket. But if you run into anyone else, maybe don't mention that. Who knows what that information might do to a person? All right, here we go.
Most mi van?
How wonderful. Stanley was alone. Finally. This is great, he thought to himself. This is what I've wanted all along. I
Nem
got
hozom a
what I wanted.
vödröt. Most nem hozom magammal a vödröt, mert... most...
When Stanley came to a set of two open
Most
doors,
be
this
kell
was
menjünk
not the
az
correct way
ajtón.
to the meeting room, and Stanley knew it perfectly well. Perhaps he wanted to stop by the employee lounge first, just to admire it. Stanley felt lightheaded, butterflies in his stomach, but eager to get back to business, Stanley took the first open door on his left.
Azt hiszed.
Stanley was so bad at following directions, it's incredible he wasn't fired years ago.
Más a szöveg ilyenkor.
Look, Stanley, I think perhaps we've gotten off on the wrong foot here. I'm not your enemy, really, I'm not. I realize that investing your trust in someone else can be difficult, but the fact is that the story has been about
én nem
nothing
vagyok
but
vödör,
you
szóval bemehetek,
all
az
this
biztos.
time.
There's someone you've been neglecting, Stanley. Someone you've... What? Really? I was in the middle of something. Do you have zero consideration for others? Are you that convinced that I want something bad to happen to you? Why, I don't know how to convince you of this, but I really do want to help you, to show you something beautiful.
Ajaj.
Let me prove it. Let me prove that I'm on your side. Give me a chance. Another miniature Stanley figurine. This,
harmadik.
you know, there really must be a snappier name for these things.
A harmadik kollektívből?
Mini stands. Stanley figs. What about Stanlerines? Yes, I think I like that. Another Stanlerine under your belt.
Jó.
Now listen carefully, this is important. Stanley walked through the red door. Aha, perhaps you misunderstood. Stanley walked through the red door. I still don't think we're communicating properly. Stanley walked through the red door.
Itt a kék.
All right, fine. Go ahead, Stanley. You want to know so badly what's out there? You want to find out what lies at the end of this road you've chosen? Well, don't let me stop you. You see? There's nothing here. I haven't even finished building this section of the map because you were never supposed to be here in the first place. Broken rooms, exposed developer textures. Is this what you had wanted? Was it worth ruining the entire story I had written out specifically for you? Do you not think I put a lot of time into that? Because I did. And in the end, it was all for nothing. Because this is what you wanted to see. Help me here, Stanley. Help elucidate these strange and unknowable desires of yours. What would have made this game better? What did you want to see? Vehicles? Skill trees? Work with me? You give me absolutely nothing so far. Tell you what. Let me take a stab in the dark at a new design, and you can give me some feedback. There we go. A third option. This already feels leaps ahead of where we were before. Go ahead, Stanley. Take it for a spin.
Ez mi?
Okay, I'm going to stop you there. Now, tell me about your experience with this new version. Would you say that the game benefited from allowing you more choices? Feel free to be honest. I'm looking for some real critical feedback here. Aha! You see, I knew I was onto something. Where do these flashes of inspiration come from? How did I know the game needed a third door? Well, it's instinct mostly, a calling in your gut. I really couldn't say where the idea came from, except that I felt it in my soul. You can't teach that, Stanley. Don't even try. Here, based on the data from your previous playthrough, I've compiled a new version. And to be perfectly candid, I think I've knocked it out of the park with this one. Let's take a look.
Mi ez a Stanley Parable Worldwide Leaderboard? Mi vagyunk az utolsó játékosok? Mi vagyunk az utolsók az egész világon?
Now, would you say that competitive leaderboard helped you feel motivated to keep walking through doors? Again, honest answers, please.
Teljesen, nagyon jól érzed.
Hey, I nearly forgot. I've got a prototype of a new game I've been working on, and now would be a lovely opportunity to give it some playtesting.
Na,
you wouldn't mind taking a look at it, would you? Perfect. Let me boot it up.
Na.
In this game, the baby crawls left towards danger. You click the button to move him back to the right, and if he reaches the fire, you fail. It's a very meaningful game. All about the desperation and tedium of endlessly confronting the demands of family life. I think the art world will really take notice. But of course, the message of the game only becomes clear once you've been playing it for about 4 hours. So why don't you give it 4 hours of play to make sure it's effective? Be sure to keep notes on your experience.
Yay! 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30, 31, 32, 33, 34, 35, 36, 37, 38, 39, 40, 41, 42, 43, 44, 45, 46, 47, 48, 49, 50, 51, 52, 53, 54, 55, 56, 57, 58, 59, 60, 61, 62, 63, 64, 65, 66, 67, 68, 69, 70, 71, 72, 73, 74, 75, 76, 77, 78, 79, 80, 81, 82, 83, 84, 85, 86, 87, 88, 89, 90, 91, 92, 93, 94, 95, 96, 97, 98, 99, 100, 101, 102, 103, 104, 105, 106, 107, 108, 109, 110, 111, 112, 113, 114, 115, 116, 117, 118, 1
You heartless bastard. Did you do it because you hate babies or purely to spite me? Because if it's the latter, well, I don't know what to do. I'm completely out of ideas. I can't think of a single thing that might improve the experience for me. I'm not even going to try. I'm out. I'm done. It's over. Thank you for playing. Your input was extremely valuable. Oh, hey, since my game was so awful, why don't we play someone else's game? Just to ease the pain. Let's see. What do we have here?
Micsoda? Ha 4 órán keresztül csinálom ezt, akkor van egy ending.
Yes.
Na jó.
This seems like it'll work.
Biztos,
Let's give
hogy
it a
nem.
shot.
Milyen játék? Mi van?
Aha! Fascinating.
Ez a
What do you think
Firewatch.
this game is about, Stanley? What's our backstory? What is our motivation?
Ez a Firewatch.
Well, it seems obvious to me that you are meant to play as a creepy man, spying on innocent civilians below you from up high in your creep tower. Perhaps for some sort of twisted
De még a
erotic
Betty típus is
purpose.
ugyanolyan.
Yes, that must be it. What a fascinating venture into the experience of total mental depravity. So far, I love everything about this game, Stanley. And it seems there's even more. Come, let's venture outward and see what else is out there.
Ezt nem hiszem el. De hogy? Hát ez hogy?
Oh no. No, it can't be. It is. It's an open world game. Good God, quickly, block it off.
Na.
Oh, thank goodness, Stanley. What a close call. You nearly wandered off into that thing. That big open,
Bezárták.
just wandering around. No right or wrong directions. No path to follow. You can just go in any... Oh, thank heavens we avoided it.
Nem szereti az open world játékokat.
Okay, I'm going to get us out of here. Let's find another game. Preferably something with walls. Something with nice, big, insurmountable walls. Okay, I think this will be just the thing.
Mi a fasz?
Wonderful. See, this is exactly
It's
what I
Rocket
had in
League.
mind. Just a nice big box for you to run around in. There isn't any possibility that you could get lost here. Now this is game design. Stanley, if you manage to get lost in this game, I will be phenomenally impressed. Okay, so what exactly do we do here? Let's see. There are lots of cars here in the back, but obviously there's no racetrack. Okay, I'm seeing that there's a ball of some kind back here. Is this game sports ball? Stanley, I think it's sports ball. Oh, what fun. We shall run the bases and do a touchdown together. Yes, I think surely we must. Okay, Stanley, here's the ball. Have fun.
Az igen. Azaz.
Are you doing it? Are you winning? Is this fun? Is it better than my miserable little story that I worked so hard on? Stanley, I have a thought, and I realize I'm not a sportsologist, but if one ball generates a certain amount of raw adrenal pleasure, then surely multiple balls makes for an even more euphoric sports experience. I'm going to try it out. Here comes another ball.
Két labda van.
Yes. Oh goodness, that really does feel amazing, doesn't it? Stanley, I'm like a child in a confectionery shop. I simply have to have more. I'm insatiable. More balls!
Jézus Isten!
Hold on. What are you doing? Stanley, don't do that. I can't follow you there. I can't help you. How will you write a story without me? You can't do it. You know that. Stanley, come back. We still have so much...
Kiestünk a játékból. Végül is most. Menjetek már. Hát ez mennyire állat. Mi? Ezek... Ez mi? Ez a Half-Life? De figyeljetek már, ez a Half-Life. Ez nem a Half-Life-ból te...
I wonder what he found.
Stúrák.
If what he wanted was to be the leading man in his own story, well, perhaps
Ez volt az
he's gotten
eredeti
it,
mód.
down in wherever he is right now. I wonder if he's happy with his choice, and if he's learned the heavy cost that comes with it. He'll understand soon what I was trying to tell him. He needs me. Someone who will wrap everything up at the end, to make sense out of the chaos and the fear and the confusion. That's who I am. That is what I mean to this world. Oh, yes. Yes, I'll be back. There's no other way. Once this ends, after it all comes to a close, then I'll be back. The end will be here soon. Very soon. I can wait.
És kezdődik előről? Srácok, itt feladjuk. Én azt mondom, hogy itt feladom ezt a gémet. Micsoda? Mi nézzük meg a piros ajtót? Azt majd nézzük meg. Jó.
The meeting room. Yes, that's where everyone would be. Stanley just needed to get to the meeting room, and from then on, he would never be alone ever again.
Nézzük.
When Stanley came to a set of 2 open doors, this was not the correct way to the meeting room, and Stanley knew it perfectly well. Perhaps he wanted to stop by the employee lounge first, just to admire it.
The lounge was grand, majestic, perhaps, but eager
mi
to
lett
get
volna,
back
hogyha
to
maradunk még a
business,
Rocket
Stanley took
League-be?
the first open door on his left.
Még lehet, hogy valami történt volna.
Stanley was so bad at following directions, it's incredible he wasn't fired years ago. Look, Stanley, I think perhaps we've gotten off on the wrong foot here. I'm not your enemy, really, I'm not. I realize that investing your trust in someone else can be difficult,
Nem tudom, mert nem
but the
játszottam
fact
még vele
is that the
Smokey.
story has been about
Szerintem
nothing
amúgy
but
nincs,
you
hát ezek mind
all this
endingek.
time.
Vagy van?
There's someone you've been neglecting, Stanley. Someone you... What? Really? I was in the middle of something. Do you have zero consideration for others? Are you that convinced that I want something bad to happen to you? Why, I don't know how to convince you of this, but I really do want to help you, to show you something beautiful. Look, let me prove it. Let me prove that I'm on your side.
Az eredetiben a Minecraftban és a Portálban.
Now listen carefully, this is important. Stanley walked through the red door.
Akkor meg kell nézzük, mi történik még, várjatok.
Aha, perhaps you misunderstood. Stanley walked through the red door. I still don't think we're communicating properly. Stanley walked... All right, fine, go ahead, Stanley. You want to know so badly what's out there? You want to find out what lies at the end of this road you've chosen? Well, don't let me stop you. You see? There's nothing here. I haven't even finished building this section of the map, because you were never supposed to be here in the first place. Broken rooms, exposed developer textures. Is this what you had wanted? Was it worth ruining the entire story I had written out specifically for you? Do you not think I put a lot of time into that? Because I did. And in the end, it was all for nothing, because this is what you wanted to see. Help me here, Stanley. Help elucidate these strange and unknowable desires of yours. What would have made this game better? What did you want to see? Vehicles? Skill trees? Work with me. You've given me absolutely nothing so far. Tell you what. Let me take a stab in the dark at a new design, and you can give me some feedback. There we go. A third option. This already feels leaps ahead of where we were. Okay, I'm going to stop you there. Now, tell me about your experience with this new version. would you say that the game benefited from allowing you more choices? Feel free to be honest. I'm looking for some real critical feedback here.
Nézzük.
Oh, of course. A 3. Really? Maybe next time we can get you to form an actual opinion, you know? Any level of critical thinking or engagement with your surroundings. Does that sound good? Think we can do that? Yes? Wonderful. Here, based on the data from your previous playthrough, I've compiled a new version. And to be perfectly candid, I think I've knocked it out of the park with this one. Let's take a look.
Na nézzük, igen, most ott van a leaderboard.
Now, would you say that competitive leaderboard helped you feel motivated to keep walking through doors? Again, honest answers, please. Hey, I nearly forgot. I've got a prototype of a new game I've been working on. And now would be a lovely opportunity to give it some playtesting. You wouldn't mind taking a look at it, would you? Perfect. Let me boot it up.
Sajnálom, hogy valakinek unalmas ez a játék, neked nem az
amúgy. In this game, the baby crawls left towards danger. You click the button to move him back to the right. And if he reaches the fire, you fail. It's a very meaningful game, all about the desperation and tedium of endlessly confronting the demands of family life. I think the art world will really take notice. But of course, the message of the game only becomes clear once you've been playing it for about 4 hours. So why don't you give it 4 hours of play to make sure it's effective? Be sure to keep notes on your experience. You heartless bastard. Did you do it because you hate babies or purely to spite me? Because if it's the latter, well, I don't know what to do. I'm completely out of ideas. I can't think of a single thing that might improve the experience for me. I'm not even going to try. I'm out. I'm done. It's over. Thank you for playing. Your input was extremely valuable. Oh, hey, since my game was so awful, why don't we play someone else's game, just to ease the pain? Let's see. What do we have here? Yes, this seems like it'll work. Let's give it a shot.
Na most maradjunk itt akkor a Rocket League-be, ne ugorjunk le. Bár amúgy szerintem ott is több felé lehetett volna menni. Ja nem, ez még előbb. Tényleg,
fascinating. What do you think this game is about, Stanley? What's our backstory? What is our motivation? Well, it seems obvious to me that you are meant to play as a creepy man spying on innocent civilians below you from up high in your creep tower, perhaps for some sort of twisted, erotic purpose. Yes, that must be it. What a fascinating venture into the experience of total mental depravity. So far, I love everything about this game, Stanley. And it seems there's even more. Come, let's venture outward and see what else is out there.
Meg nem is nagyon lehet el... Aha. Nem nagyon lehet. Amúgy az amúgy megmondom őszintén furcsa, hogy nem lehet skippelni a szöveget.
No, it can't be. It is. It's an open world game. Good God, quickly block it off. Oh, thank goodness, Stanley. What a close call. You nearly wandered off into that thing, that big open, just wandering around, no right or wrong directions, no path to follow. You can just go in any... Oh, thank heavens we avoided it. We're out of the woods.
Ez nem a Fist-of-Us, ez a Firewatch.
I'm going to get us out of here. Let's find another game. Preferably something with walls. Something with nice, big, insurmountable walls. Okay, I think this will be just the thing.
Jó.
Wonderful. See, this is exactly what I had in mind. Just a nice big box for you to run around in. There isn't any possibility that you could get lost here. Now this is game design. Stanley, if you manage to get lost in this game, I will be phenomenally impressed.
Most maradok itt.
Okay, so what exactly do we do here? Let's see. There are lots of cars here in the back, but obviously there's no racetrack. Okay, I'm seeing that there's a ball of some kind back here. Is this game sports ball? Stanley, I think it's sports ball. Oh, what fun. We shall run the bases and do a touchdown together? Yes, I think surely we must. Okay, Stanley, here's the ball. Have fun. Are you doing it? Are you winning? Is this fun? Is it better than my miserable little story that I worked so hard on? Stanley, I have a thought. And I realize I'm not a sportsologist, but if one ball generates a certain amount of raw adrenal pleasure, then surely multiple balls makes for an even more euphoric sports experience. I'm going to try it out. Here comes another ball. Yes! Oh goodness, that really does feel amazing, doesn't it? Stanley, I'm like a child in a confectionery shop. I simply have to have more.
Nem tudom, lehet, hogy most ezután az jön, aki tudja.
More balls!
Ez az. Legnagyobb. Ez eleve gól. Ez most mindent be kell rúgni?
Are you having fun? Is this a real video game? Well, I sure hope you're having a good time, because guess what? It's over.
Ennyi volt?
That's right. Your little fun comes to an end. This is my game, and what I say goes. You get to have fun when I let you, Stanley. Besides, you need someone like me to set boundaries for you. Without rules or boundaries, video games are nothing. Yes, that's what I am. I'm structure. I'm your sense of purpose. And since you decided you didn't want to play my game, now I don't want to play with you either. So, goodbye, Stanley. I'm leaving. See how you like it when I'm not around to set the rules. Somehow, I don't think you'll enjoy it as much. But who knows? You're an inventive kid. You'll come up with something. After all, you're the one who knows best. Take care, Stanley.
Most elment. Hát de ne bassza már meg. Hát ne csösszem már ki velünk, akkor le kell ugrani fixen. Azt hittem ki lehet itt menni amúgy, de nem. Akkor mindenképpen le kell ugorjunk, srácok. Ezek szerint? Akkor ez ennyi.
Hold on. What are you doing? Stanley, don't do that. I can't follow you there. I can't help you. How will you write a story without me? You can't do it. You know that. Stanley, come back.
Nincs. Akkor ez ennyi. És ez volt az eredeti játék akkor, az eredeti mod. Itt a 427-es szoba. Ennyi. RIP.
I wonder what he found. If what he wanted was to be the leading man in his own story, well, perhaps he's gotten it. Down in wherever he is right now. I wonder if he's happy with his choice, and if he's learned the heavy cost that comes with it. He'll understand soon what I was trying to tell him. He needs me. Someone who will wrap everything up at the end, to make sense out of the chaos and the fear and the confusion.
Szükségünk van a narrátorra, ez a lényeg.
That is what I mean to this world. Oh, yes. Yes, I'll be back. There's no other way. Once this ends, after it all comes to a close, then I'll be back. The end will be here soon. Very soon. I can wait.
Megnézzük a pirosat, srácok. Nem hagylak titeket cserben. Most már megnézzük. Azt hittem, hogy lesz még valami ilyen játékos referencia.
What could it mean? Stanley decided to go to the meeting room. Perhaps he had simply missed a memo.
Milyen érdekes ez az egész játék, nekem nagyon-nagyon
When
tetszik.
Stanley came to a set of 2 open doors, this was not the correct way to the meeting room.
Szeretem
and
az
Stanley
ilyen
knew it
játékokat,
perfectly
amik
well. Perhaps he wanted to
teljesen
stop by
out
the
of the
employee
box
lounge first,
gondolkoznak.
just to admire it.
Gondolkoznak.
And here it was, the lounge. But eager to get back to business, Stanley took the first open door on his left. Stanley was so bad at following directions, it's incredible he wasn't fired years ago. Look, Stanley, I think perhaps we've gotten off on the wrong foot here. I'm not your enemy, really, I'm not. I realize that investing your trust in someone else can be difficult, but the fact is that the story has been about nothing but you all this time. There's someone you've been neglecting, Stanley. What? Really? I was in the middle of something. Do you have zero consideration for others? Are you that convinced that I want something bad to happen to you? Why, I don't know how to convince you of this, but I really do want to help you, to show you something beautiful. Look, let me prove it. Let me prove that I'm on your side. Give me a chance.
Na.
Now listen carefully, this is important. Stanley walked through the red door. Oh, thank God you are willing to listen to me.
Na
Do
tessék.
you see that I really have wanted you to be happy all this time? The problem is all these choices. The two of us always trying to get somewhere that isn't here. Running and running and running, just the way you're doing right now. Don't you see that it's killing us, Stanley? I wanted to stop. We would both be so much happier if we just
Megállok.
stopped. And I think I have a solution.
Na.
Here, let me show you. What do we want? What are we looking for? Here. Yes. Oh, it's beautiful, isn't it? If we just stay right here, right in this moment with this place, Stanley, I think I feel happy. I actually feel happy.
Hát ez gyönyörű.
No, wait. Where are you going?
Nagyon jól néz ki, de menjünk.
Oh no. Stay away from those stairs. If you hurt yourself, if you die, the game will reset. We'll lose all of this.
Ne aggódjál, narrátor.
Please, no, Stanley, let me stay here. Don't take this from me. Please, Stanley, think about what you're doing. No! Oh, thank God. You lived. You had me worried there for a moment. No, what are you doing, Stanley? Please, I'm asking you not to take this away from me. I can't go back to what I was before. If you die, we'll both go back. Why are you doing this? Stanley, let's go back to the other room. Can you do that for me?
Menjünk vissza.
Yes, perhaps you can. Perhaps you finally see what I'm talking about. I know you'll see that we can't be happy if we leave this place. You can see that, can't you?
Gyönyörű, ez egyszerűen gyönyörű, elképesztő amúgy. De... leugrunk a lépcsőről inkább.
No, perhaps not.
Kurva lassan megy a karakterünk. Mert eltört a lábunk szerintem.
My God, is this really how much you dislike my game? That you'll throw yourself from this platform over and over to be rid of it? You are literally willing to kill yourself to keep me from being happy. Am I reading the situation correctly? Oh maybe you're just getting a kick out of it. I don't know anymore.
Ezt nem
I
értem.
just wanted us to get along. But I guess that was too much to ask.
Nagyon
Looks like
szomorú
you
lett.
wanted to make a choice after all. Well, this one is yours. Is it over? It's
Meghalt.
going to restart, isn't it? I'm going back.
Ez elég ilyen creepy befejezés volt egyébként.
All of his co-workers were gone. What could it mean? Stanley decided to go to the meeting room. Perhaps he had simply missed a memo.
Srácok. Hát... én nem is tudom, hogy erre mit mondjak erre a játékra. Nagyon jó volt, de tényleg... király game. Figyeljetek, megnézni, szerintem egy ilyen egy délutáni streamnek teljesen jó volt. Nem hiszem, hogy fogok még vele játszani, mert tudom, hogy rengeteg ending van, de hát, hogy így kurva sok van. De jó volt nagyon. Mindenképpen ajánlom mindenkinek, mert konkrétan olyan, mint hogyha végtelen sok változata lenne annak, hogy mi történik, és ez egy folyamatos végtelen loop. De nagyon szépen köszi, hogy itt voltatok, megnéztük ezt a játékot is, most már nagyon itt volt az ideje, és részben megértettem, hogy miért mondták az emberek, hogy az ilyen különböző irodás, liminal gémekre, hogy olyan, mint a Stanley Parable, legalább most már tudjuk. Nagyon jó az a játék, nagyon különleges, csak úgy, mint a Beginner's Guide. Szintén tudom nektek ajánlani azt a játékot, hogyha nektek ez tetszik, akkor a Beginner's Guide című játékkal is játszatok, mert elképesztő az is. Annó játszottam én is vele, úgyhogy nagyon tetszik. Nagyon sok meló lehetett a játékban, ez tény. Még egyszer, ugye azóta is rengeteg üzenet jött, de tehát ez nem a szinkronos verzió volt, azért nem a szinkronos verzió volt, mert ez a kibővített változat a játéknak, a Stanley Parable 2, és ez még nincsen szinkron. Na jó van, srácok, megyek, kirakom majd ezt a vodot, szerintem még ma este remélem, hogy ki tudom rakni, aztán majd érkezem. Holnap reggel ugye happy hour, és holnap este lesz stream, ne felejtsétek el 8 órától, a szokásos időpontban horror stream lesz. Délután nem lesz stream egyáltalán. Úgyhogy holnap majd akkor reggel talizunk. Mindenkinek szép estét, szevasztok!